Hi, everybody, and welcome to another edition of Prep Sports Night Live. Rich Estrella and Bob Gibson with you, along with the crew. Dan DeForest, of course, John Conte's here, Bob poking his head in. And we're happy you joined us tonight. It's going to be a little bit busier tonight than it was last week, so hang on, man. We're going to start with a couple of things. First of all, we're going to clean up last night. We're going to recap some of the games, and we're going to get into tonight's action. Normally we have the coaches from last night's game. Bob, what a game it was last night. We couldn't have asked for a better game. I checked all the scores. There wasn't a better game last night than Yorba Linda taking on Orange.
You mean the track meet?
Oh, my.
There was a football game? Let me work my IFB here and put that
That's
back
all right.
in. But, yeah, no, you're absolutely right. 50-43. You said it at halftime, right?
Yep.
It's going to take 50 points to win this football game.
At
You were
least.
correct. And we thought the last team that had the football would win the football game. Didn't quite work out that way, but it almost seemed like it was going to, right? I mean, what a show those two schools put on for everybody last night. 93 points on the scoreboard. You know, we thought there was going to be some offensive fireworks out there.
But not that much.
No, we got our money's worth for sure. And it wasn't like the defenses were just terrible, man. There's just those offenses were on another level.
Bob, they were unorthodox last night. Nobody does what these two schools were
Right.
doing. Okay, we're starting to see the pooch kicks on kickoffs. They're willing to give up 10, 15 yards.
Right.
But you saw what happened when they kicked it deep, right? You know, these guys are going for 100 yards. kick returns, punt returns. I mean, there was no safe place anywhere for the defenses. And again, the defenses weren't porous. That's not what happened.
No.
They were making plays. The two quarterbacks were very concise. What was it? Not Ziskowitz. But the other kid, Beal,
Yeah.
Ren Beal.
Ren Beal, yeah.
I mean, he came into the game with 136. That was his quarterback rating, 136. Man, who has 136 quarterback ratings?
No, it was
Okay,
crazy.
I might have had that a couple times in high school, but I was learning.
Yeah, no,
he
it
was,
was crazy.
he was just great last night.
Get rid of that thing for a
Both
second.
quarterbacks were just pinpoint accurate. It was just a fantastic game. And Bob, we knew that Yorba Linda was going to be well balanced because they pass 50% of the time, they run 50% of the time, pretty close to it.
Yeah.
So it was just a great ball game. If you get a chance to watch it, I think it's coming on after the game. Then, if I'm not mistaken, there's a game on tonight after the show. It's already aired. Okay, they already aired it. Oh, it was on before we came on tonight.
But it's going to be on again.
Yeah,
over the
it'll be on again
weekend.
during the
You'll
week,
get
and
plenty of chances.
you could see it online. Be sure you're well rested. Take a nap before you see this game, all right? Drink some coffee when you get up or have a soda because you're going to be hanging on for this one. You don't want to miss any of the action. It's just a great ball game. Now, normally we have the coaches in the day, after the game. Like last week we had Dan Davidson. We're going to hear from Dan later on today. But normally we have the coaches in. Coach Bailey, of course, played at UCLA for Terry Donahue. And he's attending a celebration of life, shall we
Celebration of
say?
life, yeah, for Coach Donahue out there. So he would have loved to have been in here, but he's going to go take part in that. And he said, hey, players and coaches only that work with Coach Donahue.
all it is.
I mean, what a great reunion that'll be as a testament to the great Terry Donahue.
Yeah, for those of you that don't know who Terry Donahue is, and there's probably a lot of you out there that don't, he is the greatest coach in UCLA history. I don't think there was a coach that had a better run,
Right.
even when Gary Beeben was playing in 67, 68, so forth and so on. I don't think that anybody had a good run at UCLA at coaching as Terry Donahue.
Well, that run in the 80s was definitely, Rose Bowl after Rose Bowl win. Until he handed it off to Bob Toledo eventually,
Yes.
and then they took a run at a national championship.
Yeah, they did.
With Cade McNown that one year.
Yeah.
But Terry Donahue just consistently good, and so many great athletes that went on to the next level as well.
Yeah. But anyways, great game last night, Orange in Yorba Linda. So I don't know, man. I don't know how we're going to top it this week coming up.
I don't know either because, and it's just there were so many great athletes on both sides, and that's really just
Boykin.
what makes it.
My Lord.
Boykin and Ziskowitz, who just impressed me so much. I mean, just so much poise. There's a kid that's going to play at the next level for sure. And Boykin, the list of offers he's going to eventually have. I mean, for a kid who's a 10th grade, he's already got offers, right?
Well,
By the time
he's already committed to UCLA.
Oh, that's right. Someone told me that.
Committed
You're right.
to
He's
UCLA
committed.
already.
Yeah. We'll see. The 2 more years here, so we'll
They're
see.
getting him young.
We'll see if that commitment holds. We know there's lots of kids, and I'm not saying it won't, but there's lots of kids who in a couple of years can change their mind and decide to go somewhere else.
Yeah.
But that'd be a great get for UCLA if they get a kid like that, because every time he touches the ball, he's got a chance to go take it all the way.
He's exciting. Reminds me a lot of DeAnthony. Is it DeAnthony
Yeah,
Thomas I'm
DeAnthony
thinking of right
Thomas.
now from Crenshaw? about 10 years ago, and he ended up going to the Kansas City Chiefs. Went to, I think, Oregon, or he went to Oregon.
Went to Oregon. He was going to go to USC, right? There's another one where he was done to USC, and then at the last second, Oregon got him.
The money got better, right? That's all we could think, is the money must have got better. We know what Cam Newton was getting. We know what they were getting in the SEC. But obviously, something happened, and they always say, I changed my mind at the last minute. Let me tell you, greenbacks change. And we could say it now because everybody can get paid. So we're going to find out exactly down the road how much Eric Dickerson got, how much Craig James got with the Pony Express, right, SMU.
Right.
They got him put on probation, but again, they were taking money. They wouldn't say how much. And I don't think they can say it. Is there is there a statute of limitations on tax evasion? Because they weren't paying no taxes on that money.
That I don't know. There's stories of guys showing up in cars, brand new Corvettes.
Money doesn't exist. But
the Camaro that just showed up and the keys in it on campus. There's all kinds of stories over the years out there. But
man, one of these days I am going to blow the lid off of this stuff because it's okay now. It's fine now. All right, nobody's going to go to jail. And I don't think Uncle Sam's going to go back. And it's all hearsay. Nobody's going to know.
Don't forget, three of the top 5 collegiate teams in the nation are quarterbacked by former Trinity League quarterbacks: JT Daniels, DJ Uiagalelei.
I like that.
And Bryce Young. Right?
Yui.
So three guys from here in our local area who are quarterbacking 3 of the top 5 teams in the nation. And those are 3 of the kids that are going to get paid, right?
Right. Why
They're
not?
going to be able to sign deals.
Young's already got $1 million worth, right?
Young's got it.
That's
DJ's
the
not far
reporting.
behind. He's
That's the
getting
reporting.
offers as well. I have no doubt JT Daniels will start getting some offers. Why not? Let these kids get paid if they can do it. If somebody wants to say, hey, you want to sell cars for me or whatever it is, here you go. Here's some money.
Let's do it. All right, let's get back to the high school football stuff because Bob digressed. It wasn't me.
I know.
All right?
It's always my fault.
Not just driving around. All right, let's take a look at the score from last night at Palm Springs and Eisenhower. Bob, this score jumped off the page.
Yeah, didn't it
on
ever,
me last night. We've only been off, about a year maybe? Not even that. We've been following, but there was nothing to really follow.
Right.
But how does Palm Springs beat Eisenhower?
This is an interesting score, right? Now, Palm Springs baseball program, I would say, absolutely, right?
They can play year-round out there, Bob.
They've had a good program out there for a while.
Absolutely.
But now you see the football team. Eisenhower, who really has gotten good again, right? Eisenhower had that run, right? In the 80s and 90s, right? Ike had it going, right? So this is a big win for Palm Springs right here over a good Eisenhower program.
Eisenhower, Etowanda, all those schools out in the IE, man. And to see that happen in Palm Springs, they're no football power. They are now.
Yeah, right? No, for sure.
Maybe Eisenhower's down this year. Are they open any charter schools around there?
Sometimes you got to ask yourself, hey, is this a down year for a certain school, right? And it could be. We're kind of keeping an eye on some schools, and we're starting to think to ourselves, maybe certain schools that have been powers in the past, maybe this is a down year. And coming out of the whole COVID thing, you never know who doesn't quite have the numbers. Kids may have moved on somewhere else. So we're keeping an eye on some of these schools that may be down just a little bit.
Yep, yeah, absolutely. We're going to see because again, we're coming out of a weird time, with of course with the pandemic and all this whatever, and so it's coming out differently. Schools didn't play a full season. Guys are going here and there. Some guys went out of state just so they could play. California was one of those states that locked down. Other states didn't. They played year round. They went for it, and they had a full season. So it'd be interesting to see how this mets out, Bob. It's kind of like a free for all kind of.
It really is. I mean, we're still getting back to the norm, right? I mean, it feels somewhat normal now, right?
It's a hybrid norm.
Yeah, but you're right. I mean, and we still got schools who are getting positive COVID tests and they're shutting it down for the week. And we see schools on Twitter just constantly, hey, I'm looking for a game. I mean, there's games literally in a day getting put together. People just, changing on a dime and getting to a new matchup against a different school. So you have to give credit to these coaches and these athletic directors who are trying to make this happen, trying to get full seasons in for their kids.
All right, we want to give out the phone number. You guys want to put the graphic up for us? We're going to give out the phone lines. You guys can call anytime tonight.
Here we go.
You have the option of coming on the air or maybe even getting zoomed in so we can see you and what you guys are all up to.
We want to see some of these people, huh?
Dress appropriately, please. But they'll put the number up here in a couple seconds. So 213-808, I believe it's 7399 or 7933, Bob. Come on, Bob, you have it committed to memory, but they'll put it up right now. You can buzz us up. Listen, it's wide open tonight. We're not just, this isn't the modern day Bosco hour. This is everybody's hour.
This is all of you.
Everybody. All right.
Call in and brag about your school.
All right. Now, we have Rosenblum standing by. Yeah. All right, let's put him up. We got Randy coming in from the city section. And, Randy's got to go to bed pretty soon. Right, Randy? Randy gets his beauty sleep. Thanks, Randy. How you doing tonight, Randy?
I'm doing well, and I will stay up a little bit later for Rich and Bob. You know that. I might be able to push midnight tonight. I do want to add one other college quarterback to the fact that he's local. You mentioned 3 of the top 5 teams have quarterbacks in college football from SoCal. Well, there's actually 4 out of 5 because C.J. Stroud at Wisconsin's from Rancho Cucamonga, and he threw for 4 touchdowns last night to win over Minnesota. So the local products are doing very well at the college level.
Ah, nice pickup, Randy. Nice note. You were paying attention.
Yeah.
And you got one. All right, so what's going on in the city section? I saw Birmingham, I believe, had a big win tonight. I'm not sure the game was over, but they were looking like they were well on their way to winning.
Excuse me.
Yeah, they were well on their way to winning, but something happened in the last quarter. They didn't win.
Are you kidding me? They pulled a Huntington Beach, huh?
rallied and won the game in a high-scoring game. I believe it was, I can check the final score.
All right.
It was 45-35. Lusinger rallied.
How did they
Birmingham
rally?
Yep. And that was the home opener for the Patriots. That's a hard loss to swallow because Birmingham played so well. Their great star, Arliss Boardingham, had touchdowns both offensively and defensively. He scooped up a fumble and scored early. Birmingham led most of the game, but Lusinger was able to rally and win the contest. And right now, Birmingham's 0-3, and I know that Jim Rose has to be disappointed. He's got a very grueling non-league schedule, but still, he thought he could get a victory tonight.
Randy, that'll just make his team better once the season starts. You know how that works. It's always good to get a black eye early in the season, get a few teeth knocked out, and just heal. Because by the time you get to the playoffs, you get in your league, things become pretty easy.
You know, I don't think there's any question about that. And they're in the West Valley League, and they're going to be the favorite, even if they don't win a non-conference game. And I said their slate is tough, and it is. But once they get into league play against Chatsworth and Cleveland and El Camino Real and Taft, those schools, Birmingham will be the substantial favorite. Now, going in, Granada Hills was a team that figured heavily in that league, but they're off to a 1-2 start. And their star running back Stanley is injured and may not play again this year with a bad collarbone. So it does look promising for Birmingham in league play. So no matter what they do in the non-conference games, they're still going to be the favorite in the West Valley.
Interesting. All right, Randy, what else we have tonight? What went on overall in the section? We just talked about Birmingham and such, but what's going on in the big picture? Where were you tonight?
Out locally, and I saw part of the Birmingham game and came back. When I was there, they were playing well, and Arliss was lighting it up, and then I came back, and it was that fourth quarter where it all came apart at the seams. So, but I think Birmingham's got some promising athletes, and they'll do well. To me, there's a couple big stories that we want to amplify on in the city section. One of them is Taft last week broke their 26-game losing streak when they won big at Van Nuys, and they were very jubilant about getting a victory. Taft is a program that has been not good in recent years, but as Bob Gibson knows, because he's worked games with me, Taft has had some powerhouse teams when you go back to the Troy Star era. So it's good to get them back in the winning column. Jeff Kieran, who had led Loyola to a city championship and a CIF Southern Section title many years ago, Kieran has taken over the Taft program now. And this is his first year, and it's good that they got a victory. They'll play Rivera next week, so they might win that one as well. So it's good to see the Toreadors come back. And the other key story, I think, in the city section early in the season is Dorsey is playing well. They hammered Narbonne last night in a Thursday game, 48-7. Josh Coleman is a quarterback who's really coming on. He can really spin the football. He's got a receiver in Williams who's electric on the outside. And Crenshaw, and I didn't think they'd get back on the field this quickly, did play last night. They were unable to field enough guys earlier to get on the field, but they rounded up close to 20, and they played Roosevelt, lost 21-20 to the Rough Riders, but they had a chance late to tie the game or even win it with a 2-point conversion and lost 21-20. So Crenshaw's back on the field. Give Robert Garrett a round of applause. The venerable head coach got enough players back to get his team out there, and I think that's great. And there's some other teams I'm going to just hurl at you quickly. Eagle Rock is 3-0. Let's see who else is 3-0. Chatsworth is 3-0, and Palisades are 3-0, and they've all three completely dominated. And another one that's 3-0 is Southgate, the Rams. It's the year of the Rams, and Southgate's averaging 50 points a game through their first three. So there is some quality football and some undefeated teams in the division. Also, San Pedro's the best team. They were idle this week. They're 1-0. They'll take on Bell, who they figure to hammer next week. They didn't play this week. They've had some COVID issues, so they'll be playing again next week. The other strong team is Banning. They won their second game of the year. They did a number on Peninsula yesterday. They got a great running attack, and they're a very physical team. So right now, the two best teams in the LA City section are from the Marine League. Number 1, San Pedro, number 2, Banning, and they'll meet in a few weeks.
Hey, Randy, you mentioned a school that I did want to ask you about, Narbonne. I mean, it's been, about 2 years since I think Narbonne played any football. And the 2 years ago, boy, it was a team that was a team for the ages, talent-wise, and then it all fell apart with the scandals and everything that happened over the suspensions. And coaches leaving, right? Everything just ended very poorly for Narbonne. What is the state of that program right now, and kind of where do they stand as far as putting that thing back together with the Gauchos?
Well, I think they are where we thought they would be. The pieces are just coming together. I mean, they're an average football team now after all those years of excellence. They're starting from scratch. They've cleaned up the administration. They've cleaned up the athletic department, and they're just, getting used to playing competitive high school football. They scored first against Dorsey last night, and then they gave up the next 48. The week before, they were a little bit more competitive. It's going to be a long haul back. Some of those players who spread, some great players went to all the different schools, and so they lost all their top athletes, and the new administration over there is going to have to pick it up and get some players in there. They'll still have a long way to go. The problem for Narbonne now is they got to play in that rugged Marine League, even though Carson appears to be down as well. So that's another legendary program that's not off to a good start. They got beat the other night 35-0. But you have San Pedro and Banning that have escalated. Banning's a school that's won 12 city championships over the years, so they're an elite program. And San Pedro's great year in and year out. So those two teams are at the top of their game, and they figure to, run roughshod over the Marine League, and that's not going to make it easy for Narbonne as they try to build back their program.
Randy, it seems to me like the elite teams in the city section, it runs cyclical. You know what I mean? There was a time when Carson was it, Banning was it. Crenshaw has always been in the hunt, as well as Dorsey. They graduate a lot of guys into college, and they all go pro. Long Beach Poly's is number 1 in the country, I think, and I think Dorsey's right there behind her, maybe just ahead of them. I'm not sure anymore. But they're storied programs, and it seems like now, this year in particular, there's a lot of schools that are out there that are doing quite well, and the mainstays aren't.
That's true.
Carson.
Carson again had a coaching change, and a lot of the players left after Coach Allo left. So that changed things. He had
and they didn't want to play for Mike Christensen, really?
Well, Mike Christensen is back, and he's led them to the promised land before.
Absolutely.
But, it's a different situation now. Times have changed. Mike Christensen, like all of us, his great years were previous years. So these kids aren't familiar with him, and the good ones left. But I think Christensen's another good coach that'll get it built back up, much like Narbonne. But the problem is Banning and San Pedro are at such a high level, it's going to be difficult for anyone else in the Marine League at this stage to win football games, especially against that upper echelon pair of teams in Banning and certainly San Pedro. San Pedro's terrific. Jackson, the quarterback, is a big physical guy. Sarmiento is a tremendous athlete on the flanks. They have a great wall up front, both offensively and defensively, and they're a veteran ball club who was very, very good in our spring game. So I think that San Pedro is really the team to beat. But the Banning-San Pedro game will be the game of the year during the league, and then they'll probably go, obviously, into the open division playoffs. And I think if they're not paired in the same part of the bracket, and they should be 1-2, even if the loser does not have the record of someone else around the city. But I think when they go into the tournament, they'll be 1-2, and they probably will meet again for the city championship.
Hey, Randy, it feels like the chalk is just, in the city, the chalk is really, those are the schools that, we just expect to win every week. Give us a sleeper. Give us somebody who can maybe sneak up on everybody this year that we're not thinking about right now.
Well, I always seem to think it's Venice, but Venice lost its first game last week to Venice. I think Garfield's got great young talent. I don't know much about the young talent at Palisades, and they're obviously off to a good start, 3-0. I know they like their players. So I would say Garfield and probably Palisades. And then Andy Moran just does a phenomenal job at Eagle Rock. I mean, they've murdered 3 straight teams, but I don't know about the competition level. So I'm not sure about Eagle Rock. So I would say Palisades and Garfield, because I know the kind of players they've been bringing in recent years. Those would be the 2 teams that I would rate as, quote, sleepers. But I don't think there are sleepers. I think there's a big separation between 1 and 2. Birmingham may be the best of the rest, but they're taking their lumps against a grueling schedule early.
All right, Randy, here's the test. You failed last week. I'm going to give you another question.
I like to fail. I was never a good student, Rich.
Listen, I thought for sure you'd nail this thing. Bob hammered me after you didn't answer the question properly.
43, 41, and 6.
43, 41, and 6, Bob. That's the correct
For
answer,
Garfield.
Randy.
Garfield.
43, 41, and 6. How tight can it be?
Wow.
For a rivalry of this magnitude.
That really is something when you think about it.
The biggest regular season game and league game in the country, by far.
And Garfield's had Roosevelt's number now for the past few years, right?
Decade.
Yeah, 10 years in a row. That's the
decade.
longest streak in the history of the series.
Full decade, bro. Wow. Think about that.
So Roosevelt really had the lead there for a while. They were actually They actually had a good lead there, and Garfield's turned that around.
You know,
yeah, it's gone back and forth over the years.
Randy, remember back at Time Warner, I think you guys did one of those games. I went to it. Check it out. Holy smokes. 24,000 strong, Bob.
So
and there was
fun.
People on the outside looking in.
So much fun. The tailgating, everybody's having a party. It was so much fun.
They call it East LA.
The last thing I wanted to do was go into the normal parking lots because you can't get out. So what I would do is I'd park on one of the side streets, walk across, and finally get out of there while everyone was jammed in the parking lots. There was no way I was going to get near that place. It was crowded, and you're right, guys. They were closing in on 25,000 in the old days.
Oh, man.
Since Garfield's dominated the rivalry, the numbers have come down. But I think the win for Roosevelt, getting a victory over Crenshaw, and I know that it was a depleted Crenshaw team that was just coming back, that's going to send a message to the people in East LA and Boyle Heights that Roosevelt can win some football games, and maybe they'll churn them back out, and we can have Garfield and Roosevelt and both sides of East LA College, Weingart Stadium filled up, and maybe we can get 20,000 or 24,000 again.
Well, they used to get it on a regular basis. There was no question. Pretty soon they were going to have to move it out and go to the Coliseum. I think they did that a year or two because the crowds were just so big. And why would you leave all that money on the table, Bob?
Yeah, I know.
25,000
Let
paying
everybody
customers.
in that wants to come.
And
Yeah, they did go to the Coliseum, and I think if I recall, I didn't call the game. I went to the game. I want to say Roosevelt won one of those games 50-0 at the Coliseum.
Wow.
I may be wrong, but I think they did.
Well, it's the biggest game. If you haven't been there, you're missing an event. It's like a party, man. It's like
That's
a
what I
fair.
said. Everybody's having a party,
yeah,
right?
you know, it's like, going
Really
down to
something.
the Orange County swap meet or something. There's just people everywhere. There's people selling stuff. Everybody's festive. There's balloons. There's kids running around. I mean, it's incredible. But it is homecoming for both Roosevelt and Garfield every year. And you see cheerleaders out there, Bob. These ladies are like in their 80s, man, and they're still wearing their skirt. Right. They go out there and they cheer. Well, all the cheerleaders get to come back and cheer on the sidelines for that game.
Well, it's two great communities. East LA, it's Boyle Heights, and there's just the pride.
Right.
Hey, what about the halftime? It is a double homecoming, and I think the halftime, I think they cut it to 30 minutes. But I remember in the old days, it was 45 minutes to an hour at halftime.
Yeah.
Wow.
So you wouldn't get out of Weingart Stadium till 11:30. It was a long night. It was enjoyable because it's something you never see at a high school game, a double homecoming with the bands and the festivities and the homecoming king getting announced and homecoming queen, and then you have a long game, and it was just an interesting night altogether.
Yeah.
But now I think they've cut it down to almost a normal 30-minute halftime. That's still longer than normal, but I think the half times are 30 minutes.
Now think of this. You got Modern Day and Bosco playing for pretty much what is a national championship at Cerritos College, and they sold out 12,500. And they might be able to go 15 if they could open it up. But then you got Roosevelt and Garfield, two schools that, they're just old schools, man. They've been around for 1,000 years. And they outdraw everybody, Bob. I mean,
it's the history.
They outdraw everybody. One game.
It's that pride. I remember I did an interview with Oscar De La Hoya for one of the halftime segments that we did.
Yeah, I remember that.
And we went up and we talked to Oscar. Man, he was just he couldn't stop talking about how much fun he had. He had so much fun just recounting all his memories at Garfield High School. I mean, everything he's been through, the whole entire life and career of Oscar De La Hoya. But some of those great memories were the times he had at Garfield as a Bulldog. So I mean, that just shows.
Yeah, I know we did have him on the air, and he was really excited to be on our air to talk about the game. And we wish him well because he's fighting COVID right now.
Right.
Yeah.
He says he's going to come back, but he's a Garfield alumnus, as you mentioned, and he's a proud Bulldog.
Well, we're all going to be out there on Friday. I can't remember the date. It's in October sometime, but we'll be out there and probably going to end up doing a game on Friday and this show from the game afterward. It's the only way to get it done.
It'll add to the party.
Randy, you ain't getting home till 2 o'clock, I'm afraid.
Well, it won't be the first time, Rich, but I'll tell you where I'm not parking. I'm not parking in the lot, so I'm parking across the street. So I'm going to beat you guys out.
There you go.
Well, at 2:30 in the morning, by
There
the
you
time
go.
we get out of there, Randy, you'll have no problem getting out of there. You will have none, Listen, Randy, come back for the roundtable in an hour or so. We're going to talk about the Bishop Sycamore deal.
I know you got a lot of thoughts on that one.
This
Randy.
thing is just out of control. Do some research and come back with some wild stories because the more
Yeah, I think they're going to probably
have.
have their own. They're going to have their own TV contract by the time we get to midnight. I think Bishop Sycamore. They're going to have the Bishop Sycamore Network.
Absolutely.
It might be.
It's one of the most incredible
be.
stories. I mean, I've been covering this scene since about, 83 or so, and this is the most outrageous thing I ever heard except for that Texas football player. But we're going to talk about all this in the roundtable tonight. We got John and Dan joining us and Randy and, of course, me and Bob. So Bishop Sycamore, man, write it down. If you haven't heard about it, Google it now.
You got time to look it up.
You got time to look it up, man. You're not going to believe this. I couldn't make this up. I'd like to, and I'm going to embellish the heck out of it. But
It doesn't
But I
need
don't
to
think
be
I need to.
embellished.
I
It
think
doesn't need to be.
I think if I embellished it, I would be toning it down, right? I'd be toning it down.
This story has its own drama all to
It's
itself.
too outrageous. Anyways, let's put up the phone number. I haven't seen the number
Let's
up
go.
yet. Is it up there?
213-808-7933. Again, 213.
There you go.
808-7933. Get on the line. I don't care what school you back,
Doesn't matter.
where you're an alumnus from. Get in. Brag about your school tonight. Call us up. Tell us why your school needs to be talked about tonight on our program.
I'd get on the air and say my
would
name's
too.
Boykin, man, and I rushed for 300 yards last night. I tell everybody how great I was.
Oh.
But anyways, that's what the phone's for, and you have to get past the bulldog, John Conti. And then he's got the sergeant at arms, DeForest, backing him up. So they better be good, right, guys? You guys ready to go?
You guys are ready.
May or may not let you through.
See that? It's going to be a challenge this time.
Bring your best smack talk.
Oh,
Yeah.
here the challenge.
That's first.
It's been thrown down now.
That's right. All right,
challenge.
let's pull up some scores from the night. Let's take it from the top and take a look at some scores from interest from tonight. We talked a little bit about Thursday already. Not a lot of surprises going on last night, but there's a lot of interesting games that were played tonight. And so we'll pull them up in any order you want. Yeah, all right, no problem at all. So we're going to start off, I believe, Bob, with a game. I couldn't believe the score of this one already, but St. John Bosco taking on Bishop Ahmad tonight. Now, this is like Servite, this is supposed to be Bishop Ahmad's year. This is the year the Lancers are going to do something, and everybody's been talking about it. And then tonight, Bosco got a hold of them. I don't know where the final score ended up, but
47-7
was
the
that
final.
what it ended
Yeah,
up? I know-
Bosco 47, Ahmad 7. So
I know it was like 29-7 at halftime, so they didn't let up any points in the second half, Bob.
look, if it's going to be Ahmad's year, it's going to be against somebody else. It's not going to be against St. John Bosco. That's just the bottom line. It's not until we get to that Bosco Modern Day game. We talked about Servite. Maybe Servite's got a chance against one of these schools. We'll see if that happens. But it's definitely not going to be Bishop Ahmad. And that's not so much talking against Bishop Ahmad. That's just telling you how good St. John Bosco is, man. This is a program like Modern Day.
Time out. Where's the breaking news music?
Well-
Mike Trout is good at baseball and Bosco is good at football. Bob, what are you telling everybody?
That's the point.
Holy moly.
Nobody has a chance. Modern Day has a chance against St. John Bosco. That's it. That's the only school that's probably got a chance. Servite, maybe. We'll get there when we get there, but it's not going to be Bishop Ahmad. Bishop Ahmad's going to win a lot of football games this year, not against St. John Bosco. Not going to happen.
All right, I guess not.
So I'm sorry, right? No, the Ahmad
If you
people
say
are out there
so.
going, "Hey, this is our year. This is our team." There was so much hype going into this. It was all over social media. It was all over the newspapers. The Ahmad's going to make their big run tonight.
I thought so.
No chance.
I believed it. I bought into it.
Zero chance. I didn't.
Yeah, you did.
Zero chance, man.
Come on.
Modern day St. John Bosco might as well be Alabama, Clemson, right? That's the level. That's the stretch against every other school here in Southern California. That's how good they are.
All right, I agree with
And
you,
we
Bob.
saw it, 40-point win over a really good Bishop
Listen,
Vermont
if
team.
you're going
40 points.
if it's going to be your season, you can't be getting blown up by anybody by 40 points. You just can't. Now you're just going to go back kind of into the also-ran category, but it doesn't get any easier for Vermont. Now, I do give Vermont credit. They're playing a Trinity League schedule.
Right.
Let's face it, next week they're going to be playing Servite.
Right.
So they're going to go bam, bam, and there's going to be two black guys. So they got a black guy tonight on the right side. On the left side, they'll probably get another one. Or maybe they'll surprise everybody. I don't know. It seems like Troy Thomas has Servite dialed in.
No, Servite is definitely dialed in this year, right? Servite wants to make that jump into that stratosphere that Bosco and Mater Dei are already in. We'll see. They're already kind of knocking on the door, but they're going to have to beat at least one of those schools to lay claim to that.
All right, let's pull up Orange Lutheran and Edison. I want to see what happened there. We
Yeah,
kind of
that's
were
an interesting score there.
looking at this one earlier. What was the final now, buddy? You have a final
Orange
one?
Lutheran beat Edison 23-21, and that's a really good matchup because Orange Lutheran's trying to get back into the discussion. Another Trinity League team, with the new coaching staff over there, trying to get things done. Edison, we know Edison's been one of those stalwart programs in Southern California for so long. So I think this is actually a really big win for Orange Lutheran, who's trying to build back in.
I agree, Bob. I mean, it's another good game. It's another Trinity League. So
that's the thing, right?
And for Edison to be held, just a 2-point loss, that's pretty good.
Look, Orange Lutheran could potentially be the worst team in the Trinity, right? They could finish
Right.
last in that league, and they would beat anybody else in any other league.
Right.
I mean, that's just how good the Trinity is. You talk about the separation between Bosco, Mater Dei, and the rest of the teams. The separation from the Trinity League and every other league in the state is astronomical. So the worst team in the Trinity League
In the country, Bob.
would beat any other team in Southern California.
In the country, Bob.
That's just how good the level of football is.
It's crazy. Hey, we have the number up on screen. Are we having an issue with that tonight, guys? All right. The number's 213-808-7933. 213-808-7933. We'll just hold the card up, Bob. Right
There it
there.
is,
So
right
you can
there's
see it
the
right.
number.
Can't see crap on that thing. 213-808-7933 is the number you want to participate tonight. This is supposed to be an interactive show. Call
Get
in. You can email. I mean, the whole thing's here. If you want to participate, would rather talk to you on the phone because we are interrupted, but we're having issues with getting a graphic up tonight. 213-808-7933. All right, Bob, let's continue on the scoreboard. We talked about a little bit about the Sunset League and the Trinity as usual. We've had a couple look at some of their games here tonight. Continuing on, let's look at now, we're going to look at Westlake Pacific. Here's another game that, Bob, I never thought I would see. I would never see these guys hold them up like this. Pacifica, it was a 7-point game, Bob. This game, any other time would be like 65-6.
Well, Westlake isn't the Westlake of a few years ago. When we saw Westlake up there, Oaks Christian just running wild. Always part of the national picture, at least the state picture here. Playing for bowl games and all that. These aren't the same programs anymore. But Westlake's still a good school. They're always going to be competitive up there. It's just not quite the same level they were at that point. Can they get back there? Absolutely. Right? I mean, the cycle changes, right?
Yeah, it does.
Oaks Christian is still really good, and Westlake.
No, they're not. No, they're not, Bob.
well-
I think they're 0 for the season this year.
Well, that program, though.
The program's
I think that
good.
program, right?
Here's the deal with
Look, but we talk about the ebb and the flow. You're right. We talk about the ebb and the flow of programs, and you get one kid to come into your program in football. That can change your fortunes around. One kid can do that. You get that one big running back. So it doesn't take much to change things around and get back on. And when you've already got a name like Oaks Christian or Westlake, kids know that name. Kids want to wear that helmet.
Well, here's the deal with Oaks Lake. Get that? Westlake and Oaks Christian.
They're real close to each
Listen,
other, too.
these guys, their football fields back
Right.
each other, fence to fence. There's a little
It
bit of
might as well be
airspace,
Oaks
right?
Lake.
There's like a 2-foot airspace between the schools where the fencing goes. And if a football goes in there, that's the neutral. That's the DMZ. right? In Korea. That's
They
the
can walk to each other's
demilitarized zone.
campuses.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
literally.
yeah, they can literally kick a football over. Hey, can you throw the ball back over the fence for us so we can continue practice? So that's what it's like. That's how closely they are aligned. And at one time, they were both national powers.
Yep, they were.
So now we fast forward a couple years, and after, whatever you want to call we've been through the last year, Westlake forgot how to play football? No way.
They didn't forget.
My Lord. I was just...
Nobody forgot up there.
Pacifica, truthfully, if we look at the history of football in Southern California, they should be on the same field with those guys.
Right.
But maybe Pacific is that good. Maybe we're sliding them, Bob. Maybe they are that much improved.
Sometimes the talent gets shifted around a little bit, right? And
Absolutely.
like we said, a school gets a kid that comes through. Sometimes you get that once in a generation talent, and now it's your turn to rule an area. Could be.
Absolutely. So, I don't know. We'll see what happens. Now we have Birmingham, and we talked with Randy, but let's put up the score again for everybody out in L.A. who were at that ball game. They played losing there tonight in the South Bay. Bob, I thought Birmingham had this game. They were up.
Well, they did, right?
They had
We
it,
heard from
man.
Randy left. And something happened,
Randy
right?
jinxed everybody.
So Jim Rose is going to call Randy and say, "Don't leave our game anymore, right? Stick around to the end." A tough loss, obviously, for Birmingham. But like Randy said, this is going to be a really good year for Birmingham once they get into league, right? I mean, we talk about this every year, every week now. There are schools who their league is a little bit down. They're going to run their league pretty good. We know some other schools where that's going to happen.
Yep.
So they schedule a really tough non-league schedule just to get their kids, used to that kind of a rugged look. So 45, 35 should be the other way around there. But losing here comes up with the win.
And you got to give it to them, man. Not a lot to toot your horn about in the South Bay lately, so that's pretty good.
True.
With the exception of San Pedro as far as the LA City section goes. Everybody else is just down right now. And they're not down because somebody else is up. We're just not used to seeing them up there right now. All right, continue on the scoreboard. Mission Viejo, Long Beach Poly. That game was tight prior to airtime. I don't even know what the final score was.
I didn't get a final on that.
We're going to find out right now.
Oh, there it is.
No way, Bob. It was
Wow.
14-7, I think, at half. They were touting Long Beach Poly, the big comeback trail. Everything we read on Long Beach Poly said they're going to be back in the national title hunt. I think the season's over, and as far as that goes, Bob, I don't see them anywhere near the top 100 in the country.
Don't forget, Mission Viejo took it on the chin a week ago to Servite, right? Big loss to Servite, and now they come around, they turn the tables, and they put a big number up on Long Beach Poly. Yeah, I don't know. You're right. We kept hearing about the Poly comeback this year. So now I'm thrown for a little bit of a loop, right? Is Mission Viejo that good? Did they have a bad week a week ago? Is Servite just otherworldly? That could be. Is Poly down? I don't know. We're gonna have to play this out a few more weeks to figure out what the real stories are. But we were talking a week ago. I didn't see this one coming. I didn't see this one coming either. 41-14 Mission Viejo. I thought this would be a very competitive football game. Didn't turn out that way.
No, not at all, and I'm shocked about that. We got to get Mike Gardabasio. He writes for the Press Telegram in Long Beach. It's the Gazette now. And, man, he wrote a lot of articles on him this year, and everything was positive. Everything was a home run for Long Beach Poly this year. But you know what, Bob? I just understand it. Since Raul Lara left that program, they haven't been able to get any traction. Lara won 6 CIF championships. I think he won a state title as well. And, man, since he left, it's just unbelievable they can't get any traction. They have all the athletes. They have plenty of kids. They have over 6,000 kids in that high school. It's one of the biggest schools in America. And they can't win.
I could understand if a Jordan or a Wilson or
they're
a
big
Milliken,
schools too, though.
Well, they are, but I can understand if one of those teams was filling the void. If one of those teams had taken the talent and maybe stepped up, and now they were, winning all the football games. But that nobody in Long Beach is really winning football games that much right now. So including Poly. So I don't know where you're right. That it can't be that the talent is gone. I just wonder what's gone on there that Poly's kind of just become this good team, right? And we're not used to Poly just being a good team.
They have talent. They're winning. Bob, the wins they
Poly's
get.
not a program that's just good. Poly's a program that's excellent.
They have
great,
talent.
Top tier.
Yeah,
right.
They have talent. They
So
have the
what's going on?
most graduates going into the NFL have come from Long Beach Poly. Okay, from the beginning of the time till now. With all that talent, Bob, you think they could be molded? They've had years when they've been outstanding. State champions, vying for a national championship and all that. But just since Lara left, nothing. It's just gone flat.
Yeah. And
I don't understand how that can happen.
Well, sometimes the heart of a team, and let's face it, Raul Lara is kind of a larger-than-life guy, right?
Yeah.
I mean, when that was his team, that was his team, right? I mean, his imprint was all over that football program, and sometimes you lose a little bit of that identity when a head coach leaves like that. And
Absolutely.
maybe they're just searching for that again, right? They need that. They need that identity. They need someone to come in and help put that imprint back in. I don't know. It's a strange phenomenon.
It's a hard job to manage in the Long Beach Poly. It's almost like you have to be an alum in a way to do well over there. Jerry Jaso had that program for a long time. Won several CIF titles, state titles. Brandon Winton and those guys, Whiting and those guys are all coaching as well. And then Lara came in and just elevated the program.
Yeah.
I mean, just brought it up. Every year they were in the hunt, and it seemed like they were invincible. And it's just been ever since he's been gone now, they just haven't got the traction. And it's got to be concerning if you're in the Long Beach, Unified, because, there's nothing like having a national power in your league. It elevates everything you do.
Well, and sometimes you wonder, are some of these kids going to Bosco? Are some of them making the trip down to Mater Dei now, right? I mean,
There should still be plenty of talent.
You're right. There should be enough talent, but are there enough guys leaving and going to other schools? I don't know. I'm throwing it out there. Like,
I think
there's got to be some reasoning behind this.
Well,
what are the reasons?
I think part of the problem is, Bob, when you go if you are a top level, high school coach, like a Bruce Rollinson. Okay, let's use Bruce for example. He's probably one of the most well known. He's got longevity in the business. He's got a lot of CIF titles and national championships behind him. Bruce Rollinson could not afford to take a pay cut and go work for Long Beach Poly at the Long Beach Unified School. There's just no way. They can't pay him.
Right.
They can't pay him the money. And you hate to bring that into this discussion, but I think that's the truth of the matter. When the stipend is $3,000 to $4,000 for the season, who's going to take that job when you can go to a private school and make $200,000-$300,000 a year instead of $4,000 for the same gig?
Don't forget, Poly is a public school.
Public school.
So this was a public school playing right there with the privates.
Lara was
every year.
Lara was on this show, this same show we're doing now. 12 years ago, we were at Sportsnet at Time Warner, and he sat with us on the air, and we talked about him coming back. No, actually, he wasn't coming back. He had been out of the hunt for CIF championships for a couple years, and they were the LA Times, the press town, everybody was writing him off.
Right.
Writing him off. So I thought, good controversy. It's good to have the first show, bud, 2010. We brought him in, and he explained the process. He explained that he said, my salary is $3,000 for the season. $3,000. That's all he gets. And he's got to manage that program. I don't know how you can do it. You're just basically donating your time. So that, my friend, I think is the biggest problem going on at Long Beach Poly, because it's kind of like the LA City too. They can't afford to pay coaches, but the private schools can, and they do. And they pay them handsomely. I think if you went into some of these leagues, like the Trinity League, and looked at the money that the coaches get, it's pretty high.
Well, Bruce Rollinson,
astronomical.
Bruce Rollinson is a football coach.
Absolutely.
Troy Thomas is a football coach, right? Raul Lara was a probation officer by day.
Yep.
Right? So I mean, he had a day job that I'm sure paid him very well, right? But he needed that day job, right? 'Cause,
Absolutely.
as you said, he's not getting paid being the head football coach at Long Beach Poly. So this is the difference between the publics and the privates, as we mentioned.
He was running a deficit. He would spend his money on his team. They needed stuff, and they couldn't get it. So he's taking his stipend. He's using that. I mean, he had his day job, You
had to have that day job.
So I wonder how good Lara would have been had he had a full-time coaching gig like Bruce Rollinson does, like Troy Thomas does. These guys all have gigs.
Well, and these
full-time gigs at the school.
Well, these Trinity schools are run like college programs
Yep.
too, right? So I mean, the best of the weight rooms, the best in the nutrition, right? Everything's top notch, right? Like a collegiate program. So you're right. If you took a great coach like Lara and put him on a Trinity League team, I don't know why.
With all those resources, man.
I don't know why a Trinity League school hasn't taken a coach like that and tried to. I mean, we've seen the parade of coaches through some of these schools who are trying to get that upper echelon. Santa Margarita's paraded him through. Jay Serra now has had a couple, right? I mean, Orange Lutheran's gone through the rigmarole of head coaches, right? Raul Lara's sitting out there. I mean, I'm not. He's coaching, but you know what I mean. I mean, if you offered him a Trinity League job, I'm sure you'd have to think hard about it.
I honestly think now he's just coaching for fun. I just do. I think
be.
he's just coaching
Maybe.
for something to do. And he's at St. Anthony now, and it's a fledgling. It's a very small program. You come from a program where you have 6,500 kids in your school, and you go to St. Anthony, you might have 1,000.
Right, yeah, right. Yeah, no, that's
so it's a tiny little fishbowl for him now. But like I said, and we're not trying to make it all about Laura. We're just saying that nothing has happened at Pauley
Right. It's
since he left.
Right. And so we're going to have to see, right? We're going to have to see if maybe Mission Viejo is just that much better. Maybe Servite's that much better than Mission Viejo. Maybe Mission Viejo is just that much better than Long Beach Pauley. And maybe this will still be a great year for the Jackrabbits. We'll just have to see.
All right, let's see the Sunny Hills score now. We're going to pull that up as a game that kind of stood out in our minds because, let's face it, for the longest time, Sunny Hills was a way station. They were getting pummeled constantly, kind of like Buena Park was before Anthony White took over. Right. And then all of a sudden, the last 2 or 3 years, Sunny Hill's been vying for that Freeway League championship, and here they go again. They beat Almadena tonight. We know Almadena's, a good mid-level school. Mm-hmm. Normally they would, they beat Sunny Hills pretty handily, but not this year.
Look,
not last year.
Almadena is one of those schools that will always give you a great contest, right? So Sunny Hills, that's a basketball school, man.
Absolutely.
As long as I've been covering sports in Orange County, Sunny Hills was a basketball school and a baseball school a little bit as well. But
Gary Carter, your
Carter,
boy,
right? But the
Hall of Famer,
but not a football school. The football program did not do very well. But you're right, Sunny Hills has really come back around and become one of those teams in that Central Orange County, North Orange County area that's really come on lately.
Yeah, it's been something to see.
Yeah.
All right, let's take a look at the top 10. We're going to take a look first off at our top 10 here around the Southern California area, and it includes everybody. And here we go. Trinity.
Yeah. You knew that was going to happen.
Well, they're all at the top, and let's face it, that's number 1 and 2 in the country right now, too. We'll look at the national picture here pretty quick, but modern day Bosco, Servite. See, everything Sierra Canyon's really that good, Bob?
Yeah, Sierra Canyon's really good this year. Look, you could flip anywhere between 4 and about 7. You could see really some movement there. You could flip that thing around a little bit. I'm sure we could have some people that are going to call in and say, hey, look, Los Al should be the number 5 team. Hey, Centennial, why do you have them at 5? They should be up at 4. Norco beat Centennial a year ago, right?
Yeah, they did.
Why isn't Norco above Centennial?
That was last year, Bob.
Right, that
was
a year
last
ago.
year.
That was a year ago. We're going to see, but Norco's off to a great start.
1 year does
well.
not a dynasty make, Bob. It's just 1 year for Norco. It's been 10 years since they've beaten Centennial.
Look, Sarah
could be a fluke, bro. We don't know.
You're right, Sarah.
I doubt it.
And look at, we had to find a way to get Yorba Linda in this top 10. Let's not sleep on a school like Yorba Linda, who's knocking at the door of being one of those top teams in the area. They don't play in a very tough league, although that league's pretty good. They should have a good chance to win that league. But this is a really good school, as we saw a week ago. I have no doubt they belong in this top 10 right here.
Yeah, interesting. Los Alamitos, after they tore apart San Diego Lincoln, Lincoln's one of those schools that's pretty good down south of the Orange County border. And, Los Alamitos went through them last week like they was just a practice game. Like they were just, they couldn't stop them. So Los Al's going to be in the hunt this year. Ray Fenton just has those guys going. And Los Al has a lot of talent. They're right there, for a long time, Long Beach Pauley and Lakewood and those guys were all stealing kids from Los Al. And if they couldn't make it at Pauley, they got so many kids going there that someone would sneak over to Los Alamitos. So they have that fine line there. But right now, Ray Fenton's been around a long time. He's coached in Nevada. He's coached here in L.A. He's coached in Orange County now. He's a seasoned vet, and I look for this guy to be making some noise. Matter of fact, maybe we might talk to him tonight. He had a big game, and we'll see if we hear from him a little bit later. A lot of these coaches that we've reached out to, you got to remember, it's different times now. There's protocols out there. They got to make sure, the last guys to leave, they got to wipe things down now. Before you just let your equipment guy take it. Here's the keys, lock it up, bud.
Now it's a whole different deal, right?
Yeah, it's a whole different lifestyle now. From what I'm hearing. So some of these guys, it's just a little bit late. Times have definitely changed. Let's take a look at that top 10 real quick. Let's finish it out. We had Almania, I think, under Los Alamitos.
By the way, Los Al won 50-0 tonight.
Is that all?
Over Paramount.
Man, they're putting up some points.
And this score just into, let me slip this in really quick, as long as we're talking about Norco there at number 6. Norco beat Rancho Cucamonga. Another good program.
Yeah.
Big win for Norco, 62-28.
Well, you heard Randy say the Rancho quarterbacks at Wisconsin threw, 4 touchdowns this week or 3 touchdown passes this week? He's no slouch there. All right, we have Sarah in the 8th spot, and Sarah's always hanging around these top 10s, Bob, but
Sarah's good every year.
it's just been so long since they punched through. But, you can't blame them for that. They're not a huge school, but they do well. They do well, and they're here in the top 10 again. Almany, number 9, another interesting choice. And, of course, Yorba Linda, we saw the talent last night. I got to tell you, Bob, those guys have so many players. They have tons and tons of athletes out there, and they pretty much can do whatever they want. And you got to remember, you got to give Coach Bailey a lot of credit, because you can have all the talent you want, but if you can't make it go, you can't make it go. But he has that thing humming, as everybody would say, on all cylinders. 8v8, bro.
For the longest time, it was all about Esperanza and that part of that Anaheim, Yorba Linda area, right? I mean,
Right.
Yorba Linda, this high school is only 12 years old. I mean, you think that Yorba Linda, community has been there for a long time, but Yorba Linda High School is only in its 12th year. So it was always about Esperanza, man. Esperanza had that great football program. They took all the kids from around there. But Yorba Linda now has turned that around, and they're keeping those kids, and those are some good kids. Look, sometimes you water down an area by building too many high schools.
Right.
The city of Irvine has always been the best example of that. The city of Irvine has like 9 high schools now in it.
Is that all?
And nobody's any good, right? Because you've watered down the talent there. You've got too much talent to spread around. Irvine was always really good. Woodbridge had their run. Every school's had kind of a year or two where they Northwood had a little bit of a run. But now everybody's just sort of 500 schools, 6-4. Nobody's really that great, because there's not enough talent now to go around for everybody to have a shot at it.
Now, a guy that's on the cusp, his team is on the cusp of getting in this top 10. Right now, I think he's at number 19 or 18, is Coach Sabalik from El Camino Real.
Yeah.
Coach, how you doing tonight? All right, Coach. Hey,
We're okay. We just got done and walked off the field.
that's great, man. Certainly glad you're checking in. Look at this. This is great. He's walking in,
I know,
going to
right?
the locker room.
We're getting that live shot
Got,
right there.
he's got
Look
the
at that.
cameras following him down the hall. He's going to kick a trash can right now because something bad happened, yelling at the ref.
No, you know what? We grew up a lot tonight, so we got a lot to be happy about. And we're playing some really tough competition, but that's okay. Our young kids are getting a lot better.
Coach, we've talked to you a lot. We talked to you a lot during this last season. We at length about what it was like to try to get through this COVID thing with your players and make something of a season a year ago. What's that transition been like now to get back to quote unquote normal football and still keep these kids on track and keep building them as football players and as students?
Well, I'll tell you what. Just being back on campus, you can see the difference in these kids' demeanor and their attitudes. It's absolutely a blessing. They've gone through so much trauma over the past year. And even for teachers, teaching 5 classes a day like I do in the classroom, lecturing about chemistry and physiology, just having the kids back in person, it makes it a lot different for us as a teacher. And you really understand why you get into this profession. And it's the same thing with the kids. They're the ones that are putting in the work, but they love being together. They love being on campus. It's the camaraderie. It's the social interactions that they missed so much that really put them back social emotionally. And to be back on campus is just such a night and day difference. And I can't even begin to imagine. And, tonight we had about 5,000 people in our stands. I mean, it was packed wall to wall. Wow. These kids, they're craving football. It was sold out. I had parents yelling and complaining they couldn't find tickets. All the kids wanted to go. The whole school wanted to go. They were begging for football, and so it was really exciting.
Coach, we had that experience last night at Yorba Linda. And Coach, if you could turn your phone a little bit sideways for us, more of what is that, the landscape or the portrait,
that's right.
Bob?
I don't know.
Anyways, hey, but we saw that at Yorba Linda last night. The Yorba Linda side was pretty much sold out. There wasn't any seats. The student section was humongous. I mean, they took like half a section, Bob.
Yeah.
I'm not kidding, to that stadium. But everybody was just happy to be out. They were having a good time. There were smiles on everybody's face. Even though the game was back and forth, even at halftime, when the game was undecided, third quarter, people walking around just happy to have football back and have a good competitive game. So the crowds are definitely coming back, and that's great to hear. It's even happening out in the LA area.
Oh yeah, and I couldn't be happier with how the kids, triumphed tonight. We played a really good Harvard Westlake team. We didn't win the game. We lost 49-36, but you got a game where we played them last year and lost 56-6.
Right.
And we come back and play that same team with our same team, and it's a whole different night and day game. It was 28-21 in the third quarter. And so, being in a ball game and watching the kids grow there's nothing more special to me than that.
Yeah, no, that's great, Coach. Were you surprised that there was such a big demand for tickets to this game?
I thought next week against Calabasas was going to be the one that was going to sell out, and I guarantee that's going to sell out too. But I was a little bit surprised, and in the kids in my class, everybody was just so excited. The pep rally on campus, every student on campus was there. It's almost like a Texas high school when you see the pep rally in Varsity Blues, where the head coach John Voigt's in the middle of the basketball stadium, and you got the whole student population there. That's exactly what it felt like, and I've never seen that at a city section high school in Los Angeles before.
Hey,
ahead, Bob.
hey, Coach, you're really challenging your team this year, right? I mean, you've stepped up the level of competition you're playing in your non-league schedule.
I don't think there's a city section football team ever in the history of city section to play a tougher schedule than we got. But, the kids keep getting better, and we're going to use that to our advantage down the road, because we're going to be battle tested, and that'll be the one thing that people can hang their hat on moving forward.
You know what I noticed, Coach? You guys took Bishop Sycamore off your schedule. What's up? Didn't they?
Only because they signed Cam Newton.
You seen that, huh? Oh, my God. You're there, too. We're going to put that up. Matter of fact, we should just put that up right now because Coach mentioned it. But we're going to do our roundtable discussion at 11:30 regarding Bishop Sycamore. Coach, is there anything more outrageous than that? Seriously.
Honestly, I've heard some pretty outrageous things. You'd be surprised, guys, because when I was at the JUCO ranks, we had a bunch of kids that came from prep schools back east. And these prep schools were scamming kids. They were charging them $1,200 for admission, promising them scholarships, and none of them had grades. They weren't even accredited, so they didn't have academics. So they couldn't go to a place. And then they'd fold, and we'd get half their team because they were all friends from high school.
Wow. That is great. Isn't that ridiculous?
Can you imagine?
We heard about that kid that played football at Texas. The guy was 27 years old. He was still in college playing ball. He kept changing his name, using his middle name. And
you want to hear something funny? We back in the day, we had a kid at Los Angeles Valley College in 2007. It was the same thing. He had played it. They found out the only problem was the kid got injured, and it was a spinal injury. He was fine. But he went to the hospital, and he was a John Doe. They couldn't figure out who he was, no insurance, no nothing. And they figured out that he had been at 8 different junior colleges and played under 8 different aliases.
Wow. That's somebody who loves playing ball.
Right? That's a kid who just wants to keep playing football.
Can't fault him for wanting to try,
right?
That's a lot of
Only
work right
committed
there.
fraud.
Yeah, I don't know if I'd go that far, but geez Louise, man. You really got to love the game. That's a lot of practices too, man. It really is.
Doubt.
So, Coach, who do you have next week? What do you got going on? Next week, your opponent.
We're at home against. We're excited. We're turning the corner, and we got a good matchup at a good Calabasas team.
That's right, Calabasas. That's right,
gonna
Calabasas. You said that earlier.
Yeah.
Yeah, Calabasas. There was some stuff going on. Where they still is that coach still there? I can't remember his name right now. The kid wasn't he from Oaks Christian? Or something?
Is there a different staff there? At Calabasas
Different staff
now?
there?
Have they turned that over?
It was like 300 recruits in
Chris
one
Claiborne.
season.
Right.
It was Chris Claiborne, and now it's
Claiborne,
Kerry
right.
Harris.
Okay.
Okay, yeah, good, right. Chris Claiborne.
They had like a lot of recruits, man. They had like 70% of the team came in one season, man.
Everybody was showing up to play there, right? Yeah.
Even the Trinity League as a whole doesn't get all of that, but they had everybody moving in, and it was interesting. We have fun with that.
The Trinity League just gets everybody else, right?
Okay.
Yeah,
Hey, hold on.
right.
Randy wants to jump in on this, so we're going to let Randy jump in right now.
All right.
Randy's a big Bishop Sycamore guy too. He really was touting them earlier in the season as one of the top teams in the nation. Randy, you still there?
Oh, I'm here. I'm not going to go away. Of course, next week, Coach Zabalik and I will be reunited because the Calabasas game is going to be on LA 36 against his El Camino Real Conquistadors. So I want to ask him about the development of Ryan Feinberg, his quarterback, and see how he believes his senior signal caller is doing.
Coach, can you hear Randy?
Did you hear Randy, Coach?
No, I didn't.
I
I couldn't hear him.
He wants you to talk about your senior signal caller.
Oh, Ryan had another hell of a game. I mean, last week he came out. He threw almost 69% completion percentage. He was 22 of 32 for 303 yards and 3
Nice
touchdowns.
job, Coach.
This week, I mean, he threw for another probably 300 yards. I got to do the stats. We lit up the scoreboard a lot tonight and the past couple weeks against some really good competition. And he's really starting to feel himself and come into his own and really take charge of the offense. And I couldn't be more proud of the kid and all of the kids for that matter. Like I said, they've blossomed, and to watch them blossom is such a pleasure.
Yeah, especially after last season, because it was tough for everybody, but it was really tough for you guys in particular. So to be able to come back, pull it together, man, in a short amount of time, and get competitive is really good to hear.
Yeah, that's all that matters, right? Getting better every day, one step closer.
That's it.
Randy, you got another question for Coach? I'll go ahead and translate.
Yeah, because we can't hear each other, but I can hear you, Rich, fine, but I can't hear Coach.
That's all right.
It's about his schedule. His team has obviously improved. It's getting better and better, and that bodes well when he gets into the West Valley. But he's overscheduled. He needs to tamp it down. Please get this across to Coach Sabolic. Get some easier opponents next year. You don't have to pay. You don't have to play murderer's row like this.
Oh man,
Coach, Randy says you've overscheduled this year. He wants you to start playing Sisters of the South. And some of these lower level teams. He thinks you stepped up a little too much maybe this year.
Yeah, you got to get Bishop Sycamore off your schedule and Mater Day. That's what he's saying.
Yeah.
Well, thinking about we're thinking about the dead presidents. Washington, Lincoln.
There you go. There you go. There you
Fran-
go.
Tell him to play my alma mater, North Hollywood. Although they did put up 60 last night against Van Nuys, got a victory. But North Hollywood, Poly, all the East Valley League schools. I like his chances against those.
I saw East Valley School. I translated that much.
He's good lip
You
reader.
tell that.
He doesn't want you playing North Hollywood. That's all.
Oh,
pretty
come
much
on.
They got a good coach. So
Yeah, Randy obviously knows something over there. Well, listen, Coach, we really wish you continued success this season because, again, it's been tough. You're able to hold it together. Obviously, you guys put up, 36 tonight?
Yep.
Wow.
36.
Yeah, that's
And
pretty
we left
good.
a couple of touchdowns on the field. I mean, it could have been 49-42 here pretty quick.
Most importantly,
Or it
Coach,
should have been 42-42 technically. We take one of their, shots away.
but most importantly is the fact that you guys had a nice big crowd.
Yeah.
That's
And everybody was having a great time.
And your kids are getting better and better. And that's really what it's about.
No doubt.
all right, Coach. Appreciate the call and update. And again, we'll be checking with you next week. See how things go against Calabasas.
It's great to be back with you guys and always fun to chat. I really do pleasure these, flailing seconds we get together.
Yeah, it's not long enough, but we
Right, I
appreciate
know.
you too, Coach.
It's fun. Thanks, Coach.
All right, Coach. We'll talk next week. Continued success, huh? Take it forward.
See you guys.
All
Have
right.
a great night. Bye, Randy.
Thanks, Jason.
See you next week.
All right, Coach says bye, Randy.
Hey, Randy said late.
One last ad. Even though he's improving, he doesn't have a victory yet, and he'll get some wins this year.
He will.
It's still, and I know Feinberg, the quarterback, is a senior. That is a very young El Camino El Conquistador team. So he's going to develop his squad. They're going to win some games in the West Valley, and look out next year because he's got a very young club still.
Yeah.
Right on. All right, Randy, maybe a half hour. We talk about the Sycamore. We're going to have the roundtable. This is going to be fun. So bring your A game.
Yeah, I want ECR. I want El Camino El to schedule Bishop Sycamore. That's what we need to schedule.
That would be a game.
Oh, man, this is too much. This is amazing. All right, Randy, thanks a lot, man. Appreciate it. All right. Again, the number 213-808-7933. It's time. Everybody should be home by now, hanging out, getting ready. So it's time to participate.
Get in.
Let's take a look at the national picture real quick now. And Randy's off now, but Bob, we're going to be able to have a look, and we're going to see that the Southern California top 10 looks a lot like the national
It's
top
so,
10.
it's
All
so
right.
True.
And
It's so true.
So, all right. But anyways. You know, when we left last year before the COVID year, let's
Yep.
put it that way. You know, Mater Dei was the toast of the town,
Of course.
and Bosco, of course.
Yep.
They were sharing the national championship back and forth. Unfortunately, because California didn't get to play during the regular season, there was no national champ. There was no defending it. Mater Dei or Bosco did not.
I don't even know who won it.
I don't
last
remember
year. I
either.
don't
It's
think
been
really
so long. It
matters,
doesn't
to be
even
honest
matter.
with you.
Yeah. But this year, Mater Dei's back in the saddle. They're the top team in the country. They played number 13 Duncanville, and they beat them bad. I mean, we talked about this last week. You know, Randy thought that Duncanville would give him a game. He thought it might be close and
Right.
Duncanville might pull it out, but it turned out that, you know, Mater Dei just put their foot on the gas and never let up.
Well, there's so much talk always about Texas football, right? Texas high school football, the stadiums are huge and the crowds are huge, but I think now that's officially turned, right? I mean, it's California high school football
Yes.
now, right? I mean,
Yes.
I'm not saying the Texas thing is dead by any stretch of the imagination. There's still good football there, but that Mater Dei win tells you right there, because they didn't just they crushed them. I mean, they crushed that Duncanville team. It wasn't even close right from the start. They just boat raced them right out the door. So that tells you right there. If that's the number 13 team in the nation, Mater Dei's that much better. I mean, you're just talking about a level of football here in California that can't be matched anywhere else.
All right, I guess we're looking at the top 8 tonight, Bob.
All right, that's all right. We'll go 8 deep,
Well, we had Servite number 10.
because we know who IMG beat already.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I don't know if that win's going to hold up too well for IMG, but
Oh, there we go. They're going to recover.
Bosco. Oh, it scrolls. Nice.
Actually,
I like that.
damn, we had Gorman 9. I thought for sure we had Gorman like number 3. Westlake Austin this isn't our top 10. This is not our top. This is not. You get rid of this one. This is not the top 10 in the
That's not the
country.
one.
No.
All right.
That thing's not even close. Thompson Alabaster plays nobody out of the state of Alabama. Westlake Texas plays nobody out of the state of Texas. I looked it up. They're not playing anybody,
Right.
but they're pushing Texas on us.
We've talked about this every year. We've been doing
Yeah.
this show, right? I
Yeah.
mean, you got to get out like Mater Dei does. Mater Dei gets out. They travel to Texas. They've brought IMG in to
Yep,
play here.
and they
So you
beat
got-
them.
So you right, they beat IMG, right? You got to give IMG credit, right? They traveled to California. They took their shot. Mater Dei won. Mater Dei went to Texas. Mater
Right.
Dei won that football game. We've seen the best teams in Nevada go back and forth with California teams. So you've got to get out of your state. You've got to travel if you want to be a national power. Otherwise, being in that top 10 doesn't mean anything.
No, it doesn't. You have to get out, and you have to get out of your comfort zone, and you have to play somewhere else. Now, I'm going to tell you what the national top 10 is. I'm pulling it up here because Bobby Gibson had it earlier.
We had it.
We had Mater Dei Bosco number 1 and 2, and they speak for themselves. They are really the last 2 real national champions for the last 4 or 5 years. It's been either one or the other, and that's just how it falls. Number 3 would be IMG Academy. The problem with the academy is they are an academy. They're a football school. They started out as a tennis school. They're basically a sports academy. You go there because you play sports,
Right.
not because you're trying to be a rocket scientist or, you know, a social worker or something like that. You go there strictly for sports. So IMG Academy's, you know, it's kind of like,
It's a football school.
yeah.
Oh, it's a sports
Kinda like
school, not just
Bishop.
football. They're really good in other sports too. They're good a good
Yeah.
basketball program. They've got a good baseball program. So
Yes.
I mean, but that is a sports-centric school.
Number 4 is Bishop Gorman. Why Bishop Gorman? Because Bishop Gorman travels out of the state and plays other top 20 teams. Okay, they're not afraid of anybody. They go out, they play. So Gorman is in the 4 spot. Number 5 is Bergen Catholic of New Jersey. Enough said. That's the number 1 team in that state.
Yeah.
That's probably the number 1 team in all the region up there in the Northeast is Bergen Catholic. They dominate a la Mater Dei here on the West Coast. And so Bergen Catholic, I expect to see them probably run the table up there in Jersey. Then we had Collins Hill of Georgia. Collins Hill of Georgia is the only team right now in Georgia. Cobb's down.
Which
Yeah.
is surprising.
Yeah, there's quite a few
High
schools.
school football in Georgia has been really good for a long time. So it's surprising to see that down a little bit.
It's huge, but Collins Hill right now is the team to beat. They're the bomb, okay? All right, continue on. Katy, Texas. Katy is always good.
Yep.
Katie's outstanding. They're going to be outstanding again this season. With Duncanville getting blown out by Mater Dei,
Katie's the school now.
Texas is pretty small now.
Katie's the school to step up.
Yeah, and if Bosco somehow rises and beats Modern Day this year, Texas is going to be really small because there's 2 teams that can go in there and whip just about anybody pretty thoroughly. All right, and let's see, Bob, what do we have next here? Chandler, Arizona. Chandler will travel out of the state. They will play other teams, that are pretty good in the top 10, top 20, and we'll see where they end up. St. Thomas Aquinas in Florida.
Yep.
That's another school. They did have a big win, a signature win already this year against a top 20 opponent, but they escape me right now. But I expect to see them move up the ranks a little bit. Remember, IMG is a football factory. They don't go there to go to school. They go there to play football. That's pretty much how they do it. That's why California won't let them to come in the state and play here.
Right.
No more of these just academies. Where's that? I can't remember the name of that school. That Finley Prep.
Finley
Prep in Nevada.
Prep. Yeah, Finley Prep.
Finley Prep in Nevada. This is where Bull went when he left Modern Day. Finley Prep in Nevada is a small school. It has 15 students in it, okay? All 15 students in the school play basketball. Enough said, all right? It's basketball. So basically, it's a place where they go learn basketball. They learn about Naismith and the Peach Basket, how it all started, and then they go on from there. So I don't know. It's just not fair when that's all you're doing. And then in the number 10 spot is going to be Servite. Why Servite? Because Servite's dominating everybody out here right now.
Yes, they are.
I don't think, and I've said it to Bob, and I said it to Dan, you want to chime in on this with Servite being the best team in Southern California? Go ahead. I'll give you the floor. Go ahead. Take John's microphone.
Okay.
Give me your camera. Get in front of your camera over there.
Well, I think they're definitely have a great offense, and they're going to be coming back. I think they got a shot at beating both teams.
You think
they
so?
just barely lost last year, and I think they made some good improvements. They have all the skill players coming back. They just have to match up on the front line and the defensive line. Hold them at bay, do some quick hitters, and I think they got a shot at beating them. Anything could happen.
That's a tall order, man. That's a bold statement by you, and I like the fact that you made a bold statement like that, but I don't know, Bob. What are you thinking? You think if they're there already?
Well, best team in Southern California, no, that's Modern Day, right? And you got to beat one of these schools to get there. Troy Thomas would tell you that too, right? Hey, we're going to have to beat one of these schools if we're going to show we belong. And I think Troy Thomas really does feel like he's got the team this year that can do that. Like I said, I think they can. Maybe they've got a shot against Bosco, right? We just saw Bosco blow out a really good Ahmad team tonight. So I don't know. Maybe nobody's in that stratosphere yet. But this is the year, I think, for Servite. If they're going to do it, if they're going to get over the top and at least beat one of those schools, either Bosco or Modern Day, they've got their best shot this year to do it.
Dan, I hope we get Servite this week as the game of the week. It's a Thursday night game. They'll play in Bishop Amat. So it ought to be a pretty decent ball game, right? I mean,
yeah, I'd like to see that. Yeah, the quarterback can light it up over there at
That's
Servite.
gonna
I
be
think
great.
anything can happen when you got a great quarterback and great receivers.
they still got T-Mac over there, Bob?
They got
You
T-Mac.
bet.
All right.
No Fafita. they got players.
They got players.
They're
Servite
loaded.
has players.
They're
Don't doubt
loaded
that
on
for a
offense.
second.
Dan, I don't know, man. We're going to wait and see what happens. We're going to find out in the next 5 weeks, though. Once they get in that Trinity League, man, things change. It gets nasty.
The best part is they
Dark
get
in
to,
there.
No, they get to play each other, right? We know
Yeah.
Servite's going to play Bosco. We know Modern Day is going to play Bob, right? We know these matchups are going to happen. That's what's fun about it.
How is Troy Thomas going to approach this? I mean, I just don't know. I just these teams are so talented on both ends. I'm talking about Bosco Modern Day, the two teams that have been the mainstays for the last decade. Remember, the last team to break ranks in the Trinity League, besides Modern Day and Bosco, who by the way have 5 CIF championships apiece.
Yeah.
One or the other. I think Corona Centennial is the only one to break up that duo. But prior to that, it was Servite.
Yeah.
It was Troy Thomas and Servite. Now Troy Thomas leaves the Crespi, no success at all. Matter of fact, it's a disaster for him. I mean, they were losing some games 50-0, Bob. Remember early on?
Yeah,
I mean,
I
it
know.
was a disaster for Troy. He went back home to his alma mater, but then he comes back to Servite, and all of a sudden, boom, he's Bill Belichick again without the cheating. But he's Bill Belichick again. So I don't know. I don't know what it is about him coming back to Orange County, Anaheim to get Servite back on the map, but he's done it.
Some coaches just have that magic, right? And maybe he should have never left for Crespi. Hey, like you said, his alma mater. He took a shot at it. He wanted to go back there. Things were kind of sour between him and Servite there when he left. But you know what? They mended the fences. welcome back into the fold, and now Servite's right back having a chance to do what they did, when Thomas was there running things, a few years back. And it's gonna be fun to watch.
They didn't mend the fences. DeForest went over there and did some shenanigans,
You're right.
some
Yeah,
rigmarole.
DeForest got him together, man.
Yeah.
He brokered that deal. He brokers every deal in Orange County. Bet on it.
Gotta love it. We got a caller?
We do.
We got a couple?
We do, man. We got a couple going on here.
Excellent.
Cheers. Just water.
All right. You guys want to go to Monty? Monty's calling
Let-
from LA.
Let's go to Monty.
He wants to know why all of his players are getting taken away from all these schools you guys were talking about. He's got a real problem with it.
All right, let's go. Monty, what's
Let's
up?
go.
Monty
Monty,
from
are you
LA.
there?
Hey, Monty. Maybe it's Monte. Hold on a
Maybe.
minute,
We're
man.
looking for him. Monty, are you there, bud?
Yeah.
I like
There you
it.
go. Monty,
Monty.
you are on Prep Sports Night Live.
Go ahead, Monty. What's up tonight?
Hey, fella, how's it going, man? How you guys doing tonight?
We're all doing great, man.
good.
It's football's back. Everybody's having a good time, except the city. What's going on? What's your beef?
Hold on 1 second. We're going to throw you on a second. Can you hold?
Yeah.
Thanks, bud.
Okay, let's go. Go ahead.
Hey, y'all hear me now?
Yeah, we hear
Yes.
you great.
Oh, all right, sorry. Hey, so where's the football at down here? I'm over here in the 213. We ain't got nothing going on. How come we over here in the dark?
Well, I talked to Rosenblum. We've been talking about this for a while. Everybody's getting poached in the city section. They're poaching the players. All these charter schools are coming up. They need players. So where do they go? They go to Crenshaw and Dorsey, the two most storied programs in the city section, and they're taking the kids.
Yeah, so we don't hear that. Even the Black Mamba over there, he was with the Chiefs for a while. He's not even in the league no more.
No, he's not.
These kids don't have no one to look up. So tell me one thing, real quickly, guys. How the public school gonna compete? Even charter school gonna compete with the private school when they paying the kids to go to the school and they got the suites, they got the private toilets for the family to go to the bathroom during the game.
Oh, man.
How are we supposed to compete?
Well, that's true. I mean, some of these charter schools got brand new facilities, or they play at colleges, and they have probably better facilities than some of the inner city schools that were built at the turn of the century, last century, 1900, not 2000.
Right.
So, it's hard to compete with some of those facilities. I think other people think that you might be getting a better education. I haven't been in any recruitment or sales pitches to go to a charter school, so I really don't know. But you know what, Bob? That's something for Dan DeForest and John Conti to do an investigative report on. Thank you very much.
Let me tell you something about this, though, right? Because kids grow up in a neighborhood and they dream about, like, look at the people that have worn the Crenshaw uniform. Look at the kids that have worn the Dorsey uniform over the years, right? So you dream about the chance to wear that uniform as you're a little kid growing up, right? It's your turn now to go to that school and wear that uniform, put on that helmet, and represent that school. And I think there's still some value in that. I think there's still value.
I
in
do
that.
too, but I think that's what's happening to your players in the inner city right now, and that's why they're having some problems, in the LA Unified School District, as far as keeping players and getting enough to field teams. I never thought in my lifetime I'd see Crenshaw High School unable to field, at least
that was something.
field a team at the beginning of the season.
Yeah, so, and what I've been hearing, and this is just what I'm glad that there's a show talking about this. It's one of them things where it's going to get to a point where these boys are going to go to the highest bidder. It used to be like that for college, and now these kids is getting paid millions of dollars to play college. They're going to be getting paid to play high school football, and I could barely afford the bills. And one thing for me, and I'm just telling you this as someone who played at the shop, there's a lot of pride over there. And them kids, they got these damn coaches coming in. They're telling them they're going to start. They're going to do all these things. They're taking them on a bus, 30 miles one way to Sierra Canyons. They're going to the Oaks Christian. They got over there at what's that place, the Bosco? I don't know what it's called, Bosco
Yeah,
or
St.
something.
John Bosco.
Tech.
Yep.
Maybe St. John
Bosco
Bosco.
Tech too,
They're
yeah.
gonna get a rap deal. They're gonna go D1 right away, and we're gonna be left in the dark. And I wonder what y'all think. And I'll take my answer off the air because I took a smoke break, but I gotta go back inside. At what point does the city section fold, or does the city section consolidate and close? Consolidate some of these programs, like some of these valley schools. They only got 20 kids playing football. They're gonna have to put 3 teams in one to even be competitive.
You're right. All right, thanks for the call, Monty. Really appreciate it. Hey, this guy's passionate.
No, I like
he
it.
loves his football.
I love it.
But see, the guy's thinking. He's looking around. He's giving it the eye test, and he notices the athletes are all gone. But they are, like Randy's right. They are going to charter schools mainly. What's up, John?
But you were just talking about guys that love football and they're
Yes.
passionate. We got Coach Dan Davidson on the line.
No way.
We do. Do you want him?
Yeah, put him on. Put him on.
Let me have one more thought, though, before we get
Go
to
ahead.
Coach, though,
Before we
because I
get
just want-
that, Coach,
I just-
1 second.
I just want to wrap up that thought, though, on that, because
Go ahead.
He's absolutely right. There was talk a couple years ago about the city section maybe folding up, and the southern section could take him over. It was just talk, right? Never really got to a serious point. But he brings up a good point, right? If you get to that point where there's not enough schools that can field teams, right, you're going to have to start thinking about what kind of competition do you have in the city section, right? I mean, you're going to have to start. The city section needs to find ways to build that back up. I get it. It's COVID time, man. Some of the most biggest lockdowns are going on in LA Unified. Boy, it's tough to be a student at LA Unified right now. I'll say that, man. The testing and everything else that's going on.
The politics.
They got to find the ways to build this back up. You got to get sports back in the hands of kids. Kids need sports in their lives to have things to look forward to. So it's up to the city section to make that happen.
Well, look real quick. Look what Symbolic said tonight. You know, he had a full house tonight. Camino Real in the Valley had a full house tonight.
People are hungry for it.
Yorba Linda had a full house last night. Even Orange, a traveling team, on a Thursday night, had half the stands full on the Orange side. So football is coming back in a big way, and like I said, it's great. Let's talk to Dan Davidson now.
Coach.
Hey, Coach, how you doing? Coach D. No, yeah. Remember, this is show number 2. There's going to be some faux pas here and there, and this is one of those moments.
We got to get the
We're
iron.
supposed to sing and dance now, Bob, and get it on?
Iron the little wrinkles that happen. There he
Oh,
is.
there he is.
Coach Dan Davidson.
Coach D, how you doing, Dan?
I'm doing great. Ran into a buzzsaw tonight. Cypress playing very well.
Oh, yeah.
We moved the ball. We were more attentive to each other day, but they really got us in some big plays, a couple of trick plays that we felt that we were prepared on, but they just executed and got some big plays. I liked how our defense played most of the night until late in the game, but I was very happy with how we continually keep fight.
You have to, Coach. It's still early on. Basically, you know, coming out of what we've seen last season, you guys had just a handful of games. It's difficult to, and plus it was out of season, and it's kind of difficult to keep the attention of a lot of these kids when you were shut down for so long. They found other things to do, so it'll take a little time to get back. But there's the final. We're looking at it right now. Cypress, no slouch, got you guys tonight, but you always find positive things in a loss, Coach.
Well, positive, we moved the ball
Right.
Really well, and we got it up down the field. And when we got to that red zone, we're just missing a little bit on completion of the plays, and whether we don't block long enough, or the throw's not there, or the route's not clean, and we're missing those little things.
Mm-hmm.
And it's kind of tough to get in the red zone 3 times and not score. Especially we're a team that usually puts it up there. But I got to tell you, Cypress did a really good job of knowing some of the things that we were trying to do when we got there.
Mm-hmm.
And they were all over. They bracketed Drew most of the night, and then sometimes came and just pressed manned him and did a really good job on it. And so, I seen some flashes of what we're going to become, and tonight belonged to Cypress.
Coach, we talked about it a week ago. You took a tough loss to Huntington Beach, and those kind of losses, can weigh on a team a little bit. So, it's kind of the thing where, you're asking your team the question, right? Like, how do you want to come back from that tough of a loss, right? What are you going to do to not let that, collapse your season and to move on, turn the page and get on? How did your kids react? Were you happy with the way, they were able to come back and what was practice like this week? After such a tough loss a week ago.
Yeah, thank you for asking that, because it leads into me being very proud of the attention to detail that we did do. We really had a good week of practice Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. We prepared a little bit better, and our focus was more. I think tonight definitely was more of a hurt, because we felt like we were prepared, and we wanted to do a little bit better showing. But man, they got us on a couple of really good plays. We had them on down and distance a few times, and they executed some good plays. And I think with that comes now a little bit more discipline. So as we made strides of the commitment that it takes to be a good football team, it also takes some discipline. And a couple of the plays that they got, we were prepared for it. We knew it, and we just got out of different spots at that time to give up some big plays. And Coach Feldman did a good job. But I got to tell you, man, their quarterback and their receivers, they're good. Morel's something else, man, and he's a pretty special kid.
Yeah, for sure.
Hey, Coach, I got to ask you, did you, I know you guys dropped Bishop Sycamore off your schedule. Did you get a replacement game for them yet?
Yeah, so we're going to give them a couple of days off, but on Sunday I think we'll be ready for Sycamore and try to get a win for us that way. So, as you guys, know the game so well, I got to tell you, like I told them, we just got done with pizza. We still went to the pizza place. Tomorrow we'll come in and watch the film and run and lift, and then we're taking the team to the UCLA game against LSU.
Oh, nice.
And we're going to continue to do what we do and keep continually bond with our guys and bring our unit a little bit closer together. And some of the stuff that hurt a team like us with COVID and not being together, we just got to get that unity back and that family atmosphere back. And sometimes that can overcome some of the things that we do wrong.
Hey, Coach, I have one of those blue Western shirts. Can I go to the game with you, pretend I'm on the staff?
That's Conti.
You all you got to do is throw my name around there at UCLA, and I'm sure they'll just escort you to the front row.
Oh, that's no problem. Bob's got some connections there from a guy named Warren Moon, so we get the Rose Bowl all the time. No problem. Thank you.
We do.
Just another name that I dropped four Bob this
Can
time.
I pick that one up for you?
Yeah.
Let me pick that one
Bob
up
the
for
name dropper.
You know what's so funny is he's not kidding. We do hang out with Moon once in a while. We got pictures of some parties we've been at with him, and he's got a boa around his neck. I need I say more? And John's standing next to him. I had nothing to do with it. I just took the photo.
Sure you did.
We'll put it up here next week. But anyway, Coach, what I was getting to earlier about the changes and the way things have been last season and trying to transition into this season is that it's difficult, it's challenging for everybody. But it's good to take some black guys early on in the preseason because really you're playing for league and trying to win that, or at least finish in the hunt for a playoff spot. And so all this stuff you're going through now, playing bigger schools like Huntington Beach, playing good schools like Cypress, who's really been good as of probably the last decade. Yeah. They've really been coming along. So this stuff gets you all ready for league, and I know that's what you're playing for, you're pinpointing for right now.
Oh yeah, 100%. This is exactly why we made the schedule we did. Chino to Huntington Beach, now to Cypress and Esperanza next week. West Choate's doing a great job over there, and so we wanted to play these type of opponents that, at the end of the day, we want to make the playoffs.
Absolutely.
And so we want to do whatever is needed in order to make the playoffs, and so to create a schedule to make us bigger and stronger, faster as the season goes in, and that's what we're looking for. And we escaped out. We had a couple little guys dinged up today, but so far we've played 3 big games, and our guys are still intact, and that's what we needed to do. And I'm looking forward already to next Friday, and we'll get back after tomorrow, and really super excited about where we're headed.
One thing about Coach Davis and Bob is this dude travels during football season.
Right.
Like he'll go to a game. Like you'll see him at Ohio State watching a former player play, the sophomore, and then you'll see him the next night at the Tennessee Titan game, looking at the tight end because he played for him. So,
right.
But Dan at least goes, and he takes his family with him too, which is really cool, Dan.
Yeah, of course. You got to, because you got to make this whole thing a family, and you can't preach it as family if my family's not involved and they buy into it. And so it's a lot of fun, and I love going to the games, and I love supporting guys that used to play for us and doing all those type of things. And last night, my wife's scanning through and she sees San Diego State playing Utah in a couple weeks, and then she's like, "Oh, we got to buy tickets and stuff." So I think that's not only have we created at my own home, but we've also created it inside of our school and our family and stuff like that. So it's a lot of fun, and that's why even like this show, I think that's what you guys are creating. You're creating all of us coaches and high school players and their families and their parents to have a spot to come back and talk about all the great things that come in with high school sports, not only during the 4 years they're playing, but it stays with you for a very long time.
Well, it's their passions, and that's what we're doing here. We're letting people talk about their passion, and especially when it comes to sports. Everybody's been bottled up too long.
Yeah.
Every time we do this show, we do it for 3 or 4 years at a time, and it builds up really big. People really enjoy it, but that's what we're here for, to give out more information, give people a place to come and talk, and give this information. It's impossible it's easy for the guys on ESPN and Fox and all this stuff to follow 32 football teams in the NFL. Or 119 Division I.
Division I schools.
I mean, I'd love to follow just 119 teams. Between the southern section and the city section, and we're covering San Diego now too. We have Dustin that'll be taking care of that for us. But we're going to bring in the San Diego section probably next week and start looking at those guys as well. So we're trying to bring everybody together. It's just been a long time for everybody, but this is somewhere they can come. You got 2 hours to forget about everything else and just hang out and get on Bob.
And it's funny you say that, and I know it's a little bit tongue in cheek, but yeah, the NFL has 32 teams. There's 100 some odd teams in Division I college. But if you're talking about the San Diego section, southern section, and city section, you're talking about 500 plus teams.
Yep.
I think it's
and for you guys to try.
I think it's close to 800 because the southern section has about 575, I think, schools. The city section has over 100.
We're probably in the 700s.
And
somewhere.
San Diego section has quite a few as well. So, yeah, just between the southern and LA section alone, we're looking at close to 700 and maybe 20 schools. That's a lot to keep track of. We can't do it. But if you come here, you can get your pub, you can have your say. It's that simple.
That's right. And keep posting those scores, and it gives you another place, an outlet, and another thing for the kids to look forward to. And
right.
I really appreciate it, my man.
All right. We appreciate you too, Dan.
Thanks, Coach.
Continued success to you, man. Good luck next week. And please check back with us, man. We're going to get everybody checking back with us. Here we go.
You got it. I'll talk to you. You guys have a great show.
All right, Coach.
Thanks,
Thank you. All right, Dan Davidson, Western High School. And, Dan's a great guy, man. His program is small, but they make big inroads. He was in state semifinals a couple of years ago, had that national championship passer. That kid threw for over 5,000 yards. He was the leading passer in the country.
In the nation,
He's
right.
right here at Western and Anaheim,
Right.
of all places. Who would have thought that? It's just nutty. We got any more callers right now? You guys ready?
We're good right now.
You guys
All
ready
right.
for the Sycamore discussion? We going to bring up Rosenblum again?
Yeah.
Is Randy still standing by, Larry? Okay, fantastic. All right, fellas, we've been talking about the Sycamore thing. We were making fun of it last night on the air at the football game. We've been talking about it here tonight. It's going to be the butt of a joke. And matter of fact, next week we need to get Commissioner Wygott on the show and have him talk about the situation. It has nothing to do with him, okay? But he is the leader of the free world when it comes to Southern Section sports, and he has enough experience to talk about other sections across the country and give us some insight on it. How do schools get accredited to play in leagues? I mean, how does all this stuff work? Bob, well, let's just tell everybody what happened. First of all, Bishop Sycamore is some high school, Bob, or so we thought, right?
So we thought.
So these guys just come on the radar, I think last year or something like that, and they somehow hoodwinked ESPN into broadcasting one of their games. They claimed they had a bunch of D1 recruits. They were going to be the bee's knees and all this stuff this year, and it was all a lie.
I think the first clue should have been the fact that they're named after a bishop, right? Well, all the bishop schools in Southern California, you got Ahmad and Alamany.
You don't got
and
no tree.
Bishop Montgomery, right? These are real people. If you know anything at all about the history of the Catholic Church and all that stuff, but all these bishops, were real people. There's no Bishop Sycamore. Who's buying into that? So that if that wasn't the first clue that this may be something a little bit off here, it should have been.
Maybe?
It should have been.
Oh, well. Anyways, so Bishop Sycamore, the coach makes a call. Somehow he gets on ESPN, and they're going to play IMG Academy. Matter of fact, they did play IMG Academy this last weekend, Bob.
They did.
But
They got hammered.
They got blown out 56-0 or something like that. And matter of fact, I don't think they scored any points this season at all. I don't even know how ESPN got a hold.
Well, and
they're
now
blaming.
it's all shut down, right?
Yeah, they're blaming some company they hired to vet these things. But at the end of the day, ESPN, it's up to you.
Right.
It's you're responsible, not these people you
your
claim.
product.
Everybody's got a scapegoat, and that's who they're going to use, Bob.
Right.
They're using
for
this
sure, right?
idiot.
They're going to use this scouting service.
Yeah,
that
it's-
they didn't vet it. Or
So what? They shut it
whatever.
down? Is that what's going on with?
Yeah,
them?
I don't think anybody wants to play them, right? I think
no,
they
no,
want to
yeah.
play, but I don't think anyone wants to play this school anymore. I think
Well-
everybody's saying, hey, this because it's not safe, right? We've seen the videos, right? There's a video out there on social media right now. A kid comes off the field for Bishop Sycamore. He takes his helmet off. He throws it to another kid. That kid puts the helmet on and is going in the game. I mean, they're sharing equipment. This isn't safe. There's nothing safe about this.
Even mouthpieces, man. That's crazy. Randy, what do you think about all this?
Well, I think safety is what we have to talk about because not only are
Absolutely.
the sharing of equipment, they played a game on Friday night and then they came back and played IMG on Sunday. So that's a health risk right there. That's not healthy for kids. And some of the guys who were playing were 20, 21, 22, 23 years of age. They're not really high school players. So really it was a bunch of guys who got together and hoodwinked everyone. The company you were alluding to is Paragon. They're the group that sets up all the matchups for ESPN. But you're right. They did not vet Bishop Sycamore, and it's ESPN's fault. They have to oversee this and make sure that a company like Paragon gets it right. You cannot let a group of bandits get on the field and hoodwink your network and play a nationally TV broadcast game. Not only that, it was bad football. So now you had a situation where you had a group, you didn't know anything about these guys. The announcers were lost because they didn't know who these guys were. They didn't have the proper equipment or numbers and all that stuff, so the announcers look like fools. And then you have a network that has a game that's not fun to watch, a complete mismatch. So, but the biggest problem for me is the fact that you're concerned about the health of the players who played on Friday night for Bishop and then came back and played again on Sunday. And because of that, because of all the things, the rules that they broke, all the teams that were going to play them said, no way, we're done with that kind of antic.
Yeah, even Symbolic and Davidson said they canceled
Yeah, I know,
their
they're
game
not
with
gonna
them.
take it,
I'm not
right?
going to play them either. I don't blame them. No, it's
No,
crazy.
no.
You
No,
know,
but
Randy,
we'll play them,
Randy,
Rich. You, me, and Bob will round up our whole crew and we'll go out
There
there
you
and we'll
go.
play.
We'll find some equipment.
Absolutely. So, Randy, let me ask you, at the end of the day, for ESPN to deflect and say, well, it was this group over here we hired, that's a bunch of hooey, my friend. You're ESPN, multi-billion-dollar company. You mean to tell me you can't get in-house? You can't get in-house people to do this? Are you serious? How hard is it? It's not that hard, Randy. Come on.
In these large companies, they unload a lot of different things and they send it out to give other companies, part of the pie because there's too much they have to do in-house. So they send it out and have a company, freewheel it and try to get it done. The problem is Paragon's been good for years. They've done a nice job for ESPN, so ESPN probably just said, okay, it's your ball, take it. And this group, Bishop Sycamore, hoodwinked Paragon, and thus ESPN really didn't pay enough attention. Now they will. Now you won't have problems like that anymore. But they learned a hard lesson by letting Paragon get a little too cozy in the whole situation.
You know what? I don't want to hear about Paragon blowing it. Paragon's Smaragon. I think if you pull the veneer back, you're going to find out Paragon's got a couple of dudes in there sitting in their living room picking matches and collecting a check from ESPN. I'm telling you, Randy, I could go ahead and schedule national schedule with legit teams that would be competitive. It's not that difficult. Not at all.
Here is the fact that you had a school that nobody heard about. So even if you're Paragon representing ESPN, you got to know who the schools are. You know, if you have a Modern Day or a St. John Bosco or a Servite, you have a legitimate school to play in IMG, or a Bishop Gorman. That's the bishop that should have played, Bishop Gorman.
You're right.
But,
You're right.
You have to know who the schools are. So for them to throw a team out there that they thought was good and wasn't vetted, That's ludicrous. That should never happen.
Hey, Randy, you, me, Rich, we've all been in enough production meetings. We've all called enough football games over the years to know that, producers, are responsible for getting you information about schools, right, as an announcer.
Right.
We'll do our own research. We'll call coaches and athletic directors, and we'll get a lot of the information about schools. How did the announcers show up on game day and have no idea this was the situation?
Randy,
that dumbfounds me as well. That these announcers were like, "Hey, we got one pulled over our eyes too." That should have never been that way as well.
And Randy, you know yourself. You've done a ton of games. You know you start doing your research early in the week on
100%.
everybody.
That's true. I mean, I got a game tomorrow night with Cal Lutheran, and I've researched it through and through.
Right.
And it is kind of surprising that you have announcers that, again, had the wool pulled over their eyes. Again, at the network level, you have a lot of people doing research for you. So the only thing I can imagine is they felt they were going to get the material brought to them, and then they were going to apply it to their telecast. Well, when I do a game, especially with high schools, it's a little bit different with college and the pros because you have personnel at the college level and at the professional level. Their job is to get you information. At the high school level, you really got to seek it out. There's no sports information director on campus.
Sure.
Very rarely. Some schools have it, but it's few and far between. So
Right.
you got to go to the coaches. So I'm kind of shocked that the ESPN announcers didn't at least reach out to Bishop and say, what's your story? Who's your star players? What's your background? They should have done that. They should have checked the numerical roster going in. They should have known the players.
Absolutely. I mean, I'm just astounded, especially at ESPN. It just pulls the veneer back on them now. They're a fraud. These games are just slapped together. That's all it is. ESPN obviously has no interest in really putting on a good high school production for high school sports.
No.
They really are disconnected from it because there is no way you get the number 2 or 3 team in the country playing somebody and you don't have any information on them, legitimately information. I can't even believe those announcers showed up. I would have been on the phone with the producer and said, hey, what's going on here? I checked. There's nobody here. That's legit. I can't find any info on any of these guys. What are we doing?
There are literally dozens of people today with egg all over their face.
People should be getting fired.
Yeah, and that was going to be my next question. Has there been any other trickle down from this at any level?
Well,
I mean,
it says the Ohio Governor, Mike DeWine, he's directing the Education Department to investigate Bishop Sycamore. Now,
I would hope so.
Now, there's a couple of...
Bishop Sycamore is going to disband. That's going to be the end of Bishop Sycamore.
I agree.
And there was another group that did this a few years prior to that. I think they were called COC in Ohio. And Bishop Sycamore followed their blueprint and did it again. So it's been done before. But for the time being, it's been rectified, and you're not going to see, a false school. Keep in mind, Bishop Sycamore doesn't have an address. So that's the first eye opener. If you don't have an address for the school, where are you going to go to get information?
Right.
That to me is kind of crazy.
The address led to a duplex somewhere in Ohio. That's what one report. They had 2 addresses for him. One led to the duplex, and the other one led to a library where that 15-year-old
That's right, the library, right.
I love the way. Did you read that article? That 15-year-old? I can't remember his name, and I don't want to even say his name because he's underage.
Well, it's a good thing if it led to a library. Maybe somebody will study that.
He said they went there one time. And this is the thing. This kid said he went to a combine. They picked him out of the combine, recruited him. I don't know if he had to pay money to go and his mom paid, or they said, no, we'll scolly him in. So he says he shows up. They put him in a hotel. These guys are in this cheap motel for 5 months. They don't go to school. Some of them they're not even being fed, man. I mean, how does this happen?
Right.
And number 2, how do they get accredited to play football in the state of Ohio from high school? There's got to be a governing body similar to the Southern section, the City section, Northern section, San Diego section. All these sections are governed. How does this school get on the field and are able to play teams in the state?
That's a very valid question. Obviously, the restrictions there are a lot looser in that area of the country, so they're able to pull it off and do it. The other thing I wanted to bring up is you were mentioning ESPN. ESPN is just looking at it as a block of programming time early in the season as a bridge to get to their college football packages. So they have a week there before the college really gets going where they can use high school as kind of an introduction to football come into the season. So for ESPN, you're right. They don't really care about the matchups. I don't believe that much. They just want programmers. Sure, they want good games, but they just want people to start thinking about football because they're not going to get major numbers, especially if you put Bishop Sycamore on. Nobody knows who they are, so nobody's going to watch.
Bob watched it. Is Bob nobody? Randy? I'm just kidding.
Supposedly they had, 14 D1 players on that roster,
At
right?
least. Potentially D1.
No, they had
Potential
14
D1.
players that have seen D1 players.
Yeah,
that's what they had.
that's about what it shook down to, right?
Listen, this kid's story is amazing. If you haven't seen it, get online, find the story. There's articles on there that some of these kids have been very candid about what their experience was like, And I mean, the one kid had to do he had to do his sophomore year all over again. He never went to class, not one time, but he kept telling his mom, "Oh yeah, we're going to class. It's great. I'm learning rocket science and all this other stuff." He wasn't learning anything.
Randy, you said Bishop Sycamore. You used the blueprint of another program who had tried to pull this off. Will we see it again?
I don't know, because this one really got embarrassed, whereas COC, I think when COC did it, I don't know that they got on national TV. This got such wide exposure.
Right.
I'm not going to say never. We've seen cycles where anything can happen. But it's going to be probably 5 or 10 years before someone tries to do some stunt like this again.
You know what's so funny is Dan DeForest over here wasn't even shocked. He wasn't offended. He wasn't shocked. Dan, why
he wanted to coach him, for goodness.
Yeah,
Dan wanted to get on the field and coach Bishop Sycamore.
Yeah, Dan thought he had some eligibility left.
Yeah, I can go back and play, right? I can suit up. Yeah, they exploit a lot of these players, and they don't worry about their education too much. Some of these private schools like that.
Yeah, this was crazy.
And they don't care whether they go to school or not, but it's
Dan, make no
regulated by
mistake.
shift.
This was not a school. Make no mistake.
We're calling it a school, but it
It's
really
not a
wasn't.
school. And I'm surprised Randy even said it was
Undercover
a school.
school. So you have an undercover school.
I never really said it was a
exploit
school.
athletics.
Randy said it was one of the top academic institutions in America.
Oh, yeah.
What are you talking about, man?
It's the Harvard of the Midwest. Are you kidding?
Yeah. But
The Harvard of the Midwest.
now listen, we're used to seeing this kind of shenanigans at the basketball level. All right? I mean, I could talk about 10 schools here in Southern California that opened. They were here today, gone tomorrow. Once they had one season of basketball and they had a bunch of D1 players on there from all over the place.
Yeah, I think we talked about it last.
Stoner Ridge or Stoner or something like. Remember that one? Stoner, whatever. I can't remember. Yeah,
the list is long
it's
and
huge.
undistinguished.
and man, the minute that program got shut down, those players went everywhere. Everybody's paying them to go.
We've seen.
Well, I think you start bringing money into the high school level, like you were talking about last week.
Yeah.
You're going to get a lot more of these type of programs and a lot more of this kind of corruption going on.
The funny thing is, you guys don't believe that goes on.
Who doesn't?
Randy
No, it's
facilitated half
happening.
those guys in the city section getting checks. Are you kidding me?
Hey, I got him. Hey, guys, I got to make a living.
He's a street agent. Yeah, I know.
I'm
Randy
taking 10%. Are you kidding?
Man, what a
You
thief.
gotta
What
have
a
it.
thief, man. 10%.
You're making
Wow.
a living.
Oh, I'm doing well.
Well, I got to tell Rob Palinka, man. Randy's getting a lot, man. Imagine Palinka getting 10% of Kobe's check, every month when he was going for it.
By the way, before I forget, I do want to remind everyone once again, we're going to have El Camino football on starting next week. And we had Jason Zabalik on earlier. His football team's improving. I know they're 0-3, but against a grueling schedule. We're going to have them on next week against Calabasas. So here on LA 36, I think that's going to be a very entertaining game. And they have a chance. Calabasas is still the favorite, but I think ECR is going to have a chance, and it should be a really good football game as ECR gets prepared for the West Valley League, where they will be a player in that league. They're going to go to the city playoffs this year in some role. I don't know what level, because it's based on results this year, but they're going to get to a city tournament, whether it's Division I or Division II.
All right, Randy, so what do you think got to happen with this whole mess? Now that we're just going to wrap it up sort of, but what should happen with this whole mess with Sycamore? I mean, how do you stop this?
Well, I think
stuff
you
from
stop them
happening?
from playing. That's it. It's
But
over.
how, they're going to pop up again, Randy. This is the second time in like 5 years it's happened in Ohio, right?
Well, that's why DeWine's going to take a closer look at what's going on in his state. I mean, you just have to take a closer look and be aware. I mean, we're not going to stop it here in Southern California when they're doing it in Ohio. I mean, we can't stop what they're doing there. So it has to be at the local grassroots level in that community. It has to be done in that area, because obviously it's the same part of the country that it's happened 2 times now in 3 or 4 years. That's crazy.
I think to become a member of the Southern or City section or any section in the state of California, you got to pay dues. But
Yeah, you got to be sanctioned.
But you all, yeah, exactly. But you got, they're vetted, man. I'm sure they vet every school that says I want in. And there's so many charter schools in Los Angeles, Randy. We talked about this. That they're coming up left and right. Well, I'm sure the commissioner has his staff get on the phone and start making some calls, trying to get a hold of the principal, the superintendent of the district, make sure these guys are legit. And then where's your insurance policy and all this other stuff? Every district has to have a policy like that. And okay, you're legit. Here you are. In Ohio, you just got to put out a sign saying, "Hey, school in session, kindergarten through 12, let's go, baby."
Were all these kids from Ohio that came in to play, or were they bringing them in elsewhere from other states?
It was a pickup team. It was kind
what
of
I was
like,
thinking.
you ever see Invincible? You ever see that movie
Oh, yeah,
Invincible?
yeah.
You see those
yeah.
guys playing in the parking lot?
Yeah.
That's exactly what this was, because they were pretty much a pickup team.
They were coming from all.
And,
other
and you
states
really,
coming in.
and guys, you
Like
can't
said,
blame the
watching.
kids.
No,
The kids,
no.
they want to play football. So it's the coach, it's whoever's helped running that unit. They're the ones that are responsible for pulling the wool over their eyes to let these kids play. These kids want to play. I mean, if they're going to play on a Friday and a Sunday, obviously they want to play football, even though they're not legitimate high school players. So it's up to the parental guidance of the coaching staff to stop that, and for the sanctions to come down from that area who's ever governing those bodies of teams. That cannot happen. But it's not the kids' fault. They're going to want to play.
Randy, where are these guys going to get a game in the future? Think about it. They can't
They're
play
not.
anybody.
They're done.
No, they're finished.
Bishop Sycamore is done. Put a fork in them. They're
I
out.
agree. I totally agree with
They're
you.
done.
Yeah, I don't think they can come back, but they'll probably just change the name of the school and come back next year, Bob. I believe that.
With what players? With what coach?
Those
The
community
coach is
college
done?
players that are done.
Okay,
They
but
finished their 2 years of eligibility.
Prep
Community
school players.
Some of those guys
right,
were 22, 23 years old that were playing against a bunch of 16, 17, and 18-year-olds.
Yeah, they're going to come back and Bishop Bob.
Still
Bishop
get
Bob.
smoked,
Just shows you it's a discipline. It's a team. It's a team game.
All
You know,
coaches.
you got to be disciplined.
Oh, man. I got to tell you.
Bishop Bob and Bob Gibson will be the coach.
There you go. I'll take a stab at it. That brings up a good point, though. Where was the money coming from? The coach wasn't doing it for nothing, right?
It was coming from a church.
Okay.
From a church. I don't know.
Figure that part out?
Yeah,
All right.
some church somewhere. I don't know. That's what I read.
How much of the money from ESPN were they going to get, too? That's another story.
Well, we were trying to figure that out, Randy. We were talking about this. We were trying to figure out how much money was exchanging hands with the schools, but it's got to be. It's not paltry, I'll tell you that.
No, it's a good. It's
There's
a nice
expense.
little sum of money.
And there's expenses incurred with traveling, and I'm sure the ESPN picks up that too when they have a game of the week.
Which is why they pushed so hard to get that ESPN game right. They knew there was some money at the end of that.
Right.
I just don't
There's money
understand how it got through, Randy. I just don't understand how this game ever got sanctioned, ever got through anybody. How does IMG Academy, who's going to play these dudes, not know who your opponent is?
Well, that's another interesting question. It's a fair question.
Maybe they did
there-
know. Maybe it's all about
Maybe
money,
they
Randy.
probably looked at it. It's an easy win on national television, which it was.
Yep.
So it makes their program look great to steamroll.
Randy,
it
that
over.
game should be expunged. That one should be taken away from the academy. It's not. This was not a legitimate game. This was an exhibition, in my opinion. This was just an exhibition because you're
Well,
not sanctioned.
again-
You're not a real high school. You got adults playing against kids, and you're still losing.
I'm going to take the other. I don't think
Kids won the
IMG
game.
should. I don't
just
think
said, that's what I
IMG should
said.
be.
It's a team game. It is.
Go,
I don't
Randy.
think IMG should be in your top 10. I don't really think they're a high school football program. They're an all-star camp.
Randy, I did not have him in the top 10, but Bob, this guy over here, DeForest, and John said you can't leave him out. Last year, we didn't have him in the nation's top 10. I told him, when you are a football factory, that's all you're recruiting for. You cannot be you're not a legitimate high school program. You're not like, I know the elite schools all recruit. I get they all do. But IMG takes it to another level. Why do you think they banned them to play in the state of California? Because they're not legit. They don't have to follow the rules like they do out here. But the funny thing is, when they play schools out here, they get beat anyway.
That's true. You mentioned the modern day game. That was a coming out party for Bryce Young, now the quarterback in Alabama. I mean, Bryce is the one that beat him in the fourth quarter with some magnificent plays. So, but IMG is a top 10 team, maybe at a different level. They're not a high school top 10 because they got, in my opinion, they're more like a college club.
And they'll probably be kicked out because I'm not going to stand it from you guys. You hear me? It's over. It's over, John. It's done. You hear Rosenblum? Rosenblum's right.
Randy's mad
I
about
know you
this
guys
one.
hate hearing that Randy's right, but Randy's right.
Hey, I gotta get one of these things right occasionally.
No, but Randy, he's got a point. I mean, when you recruit players strictly because they're good football players, just recruiting strictly for football, tennis, baseball, nobody cares about academics at those schools, man. Yeah. Now, I'll say it, somebody will say, no, that's not true, but we know better.
What are their classes? You know, they got physical education for first period. Second period is film study. Third period is meeting with the coaches. Fourth is looking at tape from last week's game and breaking it down.
He's right.
Fifth is meeting the new recruits on campus. That's their classes each day.
I agree.
That's about it.
It's not far from that. I agree with Randy. I know you don't, Dan, but I do.
Well, I think so much is built around the team, like we were talking to Coach Davidson earlier, how he builds his team, he builds it around. You can't just have a bunch of great individuals out there running around playing football, you know. I mean, you can, but it's not the success for a winning program.
If they had my athleticism, they could do that.
That goes without saying.
Thank you.
For sure.
Thank you.
But Dan's running a real program. He's trying to build a real program.
He's a real coach. No, Dan Davidson is a real coach. It's not so much that he knows, all the X's and O's. It's the fact that, he gets his players to buy in. They're a small school, Randy. They're not big. But when you can get those guys all to pull the rope together, you can beat anybody. Once you get them to believe in what you're doing, buy into your system unequivocally, oh, man, we've seen it happen.
Yeah. I like what he was saying. He builds them from freshmen on up. He keeps these players at the school, works with them, builds a good freshman program, and they end up developing into great juniors and seniors.
They enjoy it.
And Bob brought up this point earlier that the community school is still something to be appreciated. There's a few of them in the city section. The Garfields, Eagle Rock is a prime example. They love their Eagles in that area. So you do have these communities that are a hotbed of high school sports, like in the city section, like those two. And that's always great to see, where they, for the most part, will keep their kids in because they're not five-star athletes. They're good players and they're not being recruited out of the area like Crenshaw and Dorsey. So it is great to see some of the community schools, and they are doing well still because they have that warmth for the home team.
I think kids still grow up wanting to wear that uniform, right? They still, they have older brothers maybe who did it, or cousins, right? And they say, "Man, it's my turn, right? I want to be part of that tradition as well." And so you're right. There's great value in that.
Yeah, and again, the problem with Dorsey and Crenshaw is not just the football program. It's just the numbers at the schools are just terrible. There's nobody on campus. So if you have no students, you can't bring players on. They just don't have numbers, period. So it's not just a problem with the football team. It's a problem with, personnel in every area of the campus, whether it's for the band or the cheerleaders. There's just not a lot of people on campus. They don't have enough students.
Randy, it's affecting everything out there. We had this kid, Monty, call in tonight. This guy was upset about all the play. Yeah. It's like a ghost town, man. He's going, what's happening? I mean, really, what's going on here? And like I said, I never thought I'd see the day where, the city section, when Crenshaw and Dorsey, two of the most storied programs in the section in football, are on the outs, man. They're not even in the conversation.
And to your point, too, Rich, a lot of times, these programs will go down because a coach will leave. That has not been the case really here. Right. You got Robert Garrett, who's a legendary coach at Crenshaw. He's been there over 30 years. And you have Stephon Johnson, who's a phenomenal talent as a football player and a
former
big
Trojan.
Yeah, former Trojan, a great player at Dorsey. So he's got tradition. He's taken over that program, even though it's his first year because they haven't been able to play because of COVID. He's got him off to a 2-0 start. So you have the coaching at these schools. But again, you don't have enough players on campus. But I do give Johnson a lot of credit. He's got him off to a 2-0 start. So he's got him, at least he's got the Dons playing some pretty solid football. But it isn't easy because they don't have enough guys.
Was Stephon Johnson the running back that dropped the weight? Was that another kid?
Yeah.
That's what I'm thinking of. Yeah, I couldn't.
Yeah.
For some reason, that name was just, I know who he is, but I was thinking that was the deal. Man, that was scary, man.
Yeah, in fact, if he wasn't in such great health, he might have passed away.
He might have died, yeah. I mean, I probably had 400 pounds up on that bar, and woof, man, in the neck,
right
in
on
the throat.
Yeah.
All right, we see it. We got a minute. I see the wind up. We got a minute to go. Hey, Randy, thanks a bunch for the city section report, and also joining us in tonight for the Bishop Sycamore saga.
Yeah. Rich, it was fun. Bob, you guys, always great to see Dan. Great to see all of you.
We'll see you
all
next
right,
week.
We'll see you next week, Randy. Thanks again for joining us tonight. All
got
right,
it.
that's it for this edition of Prep Sports Night Live. Seems like everything was going good tonight, Bob.
Good.
We're going to have a lot of action next week. A lot more people will be checking in with us now. And we hope you join us again next week from 10 to midnight every Friday right
We'll
here.
be right here.
That's right, on Prep Sports Night Live. So on behalf of John Conti, Dan DeForest, Bob Gibson, I'm Richard Stray saying so long from my friends here at Prep Sports Night Live. We'll see you next week. We'll see you Thursday night. Game of the week.
Game of the week.
Yeah.
Good night, everybody.